Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
Welcome to Hope, another class. Welcome back from that vacation. Not vacation, but because there was some growth work happening for sure. But I hope you guys had some time to reflect. But before we get started, we want to pass it to Nana because he has some announcements.
Yeah, so tonight is going to be was the beginning of Miro. So we're going to do baby steps, and so all slides will be on Miro. We won't be flashing slides online, but we hold on a second. But we will be using Miro. So make sure you go to your email and log in. If you're having a problem, Shabisha will post the link inside of the chat space. So all chatting on communication will happen within Miro. So click on the link, automatically go into Miro, and if you look to the left, you have an option for. One second, somebody just take it over for me. Hold on a second, somebody just. Okay, there you go. So if you look to the left, you'll find that you have a option to use sticky notes or just make your comments. We haven't made a decision which one is most important. Eventually, we will probably remove one or the other. But if you have anything to say or as someone is speaking, and at the bottom, you'll see options for emojis. So if you want to, like, if there's a response or reaction at the bottom, you will see it looks like it's a what they call that, a microphone, or what they call the thing you speak out of. They call that distribution. I forgot what they call that. I forgot what they call that. Yes, no, it's not a microphone. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, so megaphone. There you go. Megaphone. There you go. So just make sure you log in, click on Miro. Otherwise, tonight, all comments will be pushed towards Miro. So even the comments you used to put inside the chat group, just throw them inside the Miro space. Second thing I want to announce is, well, I'll make an announcement when I step up. So that's enough for now. Back to you, Court.
All right, let's get it cracking. Let's start with our first slide. So let's do a recap. So a couple weeks ago and the weeks prior to that, in the book Liminal Thinking, some of the key elements to becoming a very effective thinker and get to a place where you get close to liminal thinking is triangulation. Does anybody remember or know what triangulation means when it comes to liminal thinking? Anybody want to take a stab? All right, so here it is, and I think I need you to take notes, and I need you to understand and get this clear. That's why I want to do these recaps, because we talk, we go over it, we agree, we discuss, but I want it to sink down into your mindset, at least from a basic level, so you know how to process it. Triangulation, one of the definitions of triangulation when it comes to liminal thinking, it means you have to look at something from different angles. If I say this is a phone and you only see the front of the phone, there's the top, there's the sides, there's the bottom, there's the camera. So a lot of times when we have a belief, we dive into the belief based on our emotions, what we think, what we feel, what our past said, and we form our beliefs based around those elements. Remember, liminal thinking says, hey, don't forget, you're just a sliver in this whole gigantic world. Your thoughts, your belief, your experiences, your stories, everything that you've gone through in life is still just a sliver, tiny sliver of the experience. So if you form a belief, know that it's just one way. So triangulation says, what's the other way? What's the other angles? What am I missing? How could this work? How could this not work? What if this was off the table? What could be on the table? It's looking at things from completely different angles, as many angles as you could possibly look at something, as well as getting feedback from other people. This is fucking important. This is important. A lot of us are stuck in our businesses and in our lives and in everything because of lack of triangulation. That is the how. So when we got the book Liminal Thinking, and it says you need to think like this, right? You need to think like this. Well, how? How is triangulation? How many sides is actually on here? How many sides I can't even see? Who's beat the game? Let me talk to them. Oh shit, I just talked. There's a level that I can't even see. There's also a dimension that I couldn't see. There's other things I couldn't see. Now it forms a whole picture. I was in a car with my daughter this morning, and she asked me a question on the way to school, and she said, why does when I'm standing on the earth it seems flat, but when I see it on the internet it's a circle? And I said, that's perspective and distance. So it's a car that was in front of us, and the car was really small. I said, how big is that car look in front of us? And she said, tiny. I said, grab it. Can you put it inside your hand? She's like, yeah. I said, all right, well, hold it inside your hand. And I sped up until I got right next to the car. I said, can you fit it inside your hand? No, because that's perspective and distance. So most people will see the car far away, put it in their hand and say, cars are this big. Cars are this big. I did it. I seen it. I did it with my own. Did you try? I tried it. I did it. Well, I don't know. That means a tiny ass person have to fit in that car, but they'll be stuck on them beliefs. Triangulation says, okay, that's one data point of many data points. So a lot of times when Kaja asks questions and we come from a completely different side, and you're like, wait, no, I don't like that. You're not saying I don't like that because you don't like it. You're saying, where the fuck did that come from? I didn't see that. I don't feel good. That's you snuck that up on me. It feels like somebody's sneaking up on me. Because you know that there's another side of the moon. You know there's an other side of something. You have to always know that I don't know shit. This is my little piece of knowledge that I have that's like a drop of sand in this situation. Triangulation allows you to find more options. Good? Triangulation is a tool you probably would need to use every single day as an entrepreneur. Every single day. No skips, every single day. Because if you're playing the role of a manager, a technician, and everything in between, then you're always looking at multiple options in your mind to find what the best solution is, not your solution. Clothing designers in my world have the toughest time with this because they will design some shit that they like. I think is dope. This is raw to me. Well, that's cool. How tapped in are you? How well do you fit your demographic? In the scope of your demographic, how well do you fit? Just because you like it, that don't mean that it's going to sell. You liking it and it's selling are two completely different things. And they may overlap or they may not. But you don't want to find out the hard way. That's why you got to triangulate. Even saying, what do you think about this T-shirt? That's not full triangulation because there could be a lot of biases within that. If they look up to you and they look at your nonverbal cues and make assessments on your nonverbal cues, they going, make a choice based on what they think is approve will get them approval from you. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to triangulation, you have to. This is an art. That's why I say we call it the art of triangulation, because it is a working art, and the better you get, the faster and the higher quality the decisions that you make. Any questions on this before we move on?
She's adding right now.
Fern. Oops, what'd I do?
And so it says, okay, so she says, okay, so here's a triangular question. When we are validating, how do we keep ourselves from creating false positives or falling into our own confirmation bias? Wait, what?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Fern. You doing it?
This is, I don't know what your name is. Oh, okay. So so here's a triangular question. When are we validating? How do we keep ourselves from creating false positives or falling into our own confirmation biases?
Good question. First, curiosity. So when you hear the word curiosity, do you think question or statement? Question, right? When you hear the word curiosity, what comes up for you if you have two choices, questions or statements? Questions, because a curious person is always asking questions. You're not coming up with assumptions or making blanket statements about shit too early. You're always asking, always asking. Okay, cool. This is one data point that I have. Here is one option. Here's another option. Remember we talked about last week? Nana broke it down. Optionality. Optionality is a tool that you have on your tool belt every single day. You never take that tool off, ever. Optionality. We were talking about this, the measure of intelligence of a person. The measure of intelligence of a person is built around how many options they can create at any moment. Optionality. So the curiosity of the person will prevent false positive. Now, it doesn't mean you don't test, because no one's 100% sure that something's going to succeed once you press that go button. No. But based on your assessment, based on your triangulation, based on your research, based on your focus group, whatever you use to get to that place, you looked at your options, you say, I'm going to try this one. Not like, this is going to work. Let me try this one. Okay. What the fuck? Right. So you're thinking, let me try this one. Bang. Let me take some notes. Oh, this worked. This didn't work. Okay, let me tweak. Or this ain't it. Let me go here. Let me press this button. But when you're pressing the buttons you're pressing come from a curious place. You're taking notes the whole time. You're looking. You're observing. You're not creating a sense of cognitive dissonance with your decisions where you think this is it and you're going to ride or die with this decision. No, that's not that's the old thinking. That's the old thinking. This way of thinking, liminal thinking, says you're moving with curiosity the whole time until your experiment is over. So it's getting you to think like a scientist. And in business, thinking like a scientist is the fastest path to get to the highest probability of success. Highest probability. Good question. Second thing, remember when we said in class that I wanted you guys to for the next 30 days, practice being of service? I would like to hear some feedback from you guys on how that's going, what you've experienced, what things are different, what you learned. How does it feel? Anybody?
This one real quick. So your friend Jinan from Derby. So when we first talked about doing the first shoot, I just was like, whatever you need, I'm gonna do it for you. Like I want you to be super happy with the service, the photos, the videos, whatever I can do to be helpful, whatever we can work out for you. Just I want you to be. I'm here to make everything easy for you. So I talked to her this week. I sent her like the last little video. She was like, "Hey, you available for this next one? For this next drop?" I think I'm gonna be shooting like drops for like the rest of the year, just because I showed up on that first shoot and was like, I'm not worried about any parameters that you have. I'm just gonna show up and service you as a client to the very best of my ability. She was sold. She's got like 6, 7 photographers on her roster. She's like, I want you for the rest of the year to work on drops.
Yes, if shit like that happens when you are of service. It's funny how more money just starts falling into your bank account like that when you're of service like that. That's dope. But it's not something that's abnormal when you are of service. It's not. Because once you let the client or customer know that you are of service to them, guess what drops on their side? Their defenses, their shoulders. What? This don't happen too much. Not in today's time. That don't happen too much. So you automatically put yourself like this above everybody. Your competition. Some might be better than you. Some might even be better than you. But because of your, how can I be of service? They will rather have your customer service because they know whatever the differences are can be made up in the service. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else? Nobody? Like they like, fuck being of service to you. Yeah, that's good music. No, I'm letting this ride out. I like this tension. I like that feeling. Y'all got to understand, money ain't going to make itself. You got to make it. And if you complaining about not being where you want to be and the tools is being given to you, you can't say shit when it ain't there. You got to try the moves. You got to try the moves. Jordan?
A good one recently was Team Bagley when he was disappointed with what he got. But our way of servicing him was like, hey, coach, we'll give you a refund. We'll give you a refund. And if you send the jerseys back, we'll put a credit on your account. And I thought the coach was like, he was never coming back. He like, I'm never working with y'all again, but just our service that we provided to him, he's now putting in another order and spending money with us again. So that was a good lesson for me.
Absolutely. I was walking out the office and Jordan was like, Court, you for real gonna give him a refund? I said, man, it's good. I'm not saying it don't hurt. I'm not saying it doesn't feel good to pull thousands out of our bank account and give it back to him. That shit don't feel good. But it's part of our service and it's part of our promise. If the customer ain't happy, we ain't happy. And we can't move like that. So go ahead, tell him what we gonna do. And then he sends Jordan a text saying, take it back. The kids love the uniforms. They love it. We're going to be placing a new order soon. But if there was any in between that time, then his ego would have gotten away. And he never fucking with us again based on the customer service. This is important. How can I be of service to you? This generation we've been raised in the last 20, 30 years to be extremely independent, and it's getting more independent. More independent. So it's an I generation. Me. I'm getting mine. You get yours. You get yours. And we're drifting away from customer service. More and more shit is being pushed on the internet to where I don't even gotta see you. Let me order online. You even walk in a store and now they have screens where it's people walking around, but it's a screen where the person used to be for you to order your stuff. To where the human interaction is becoming like this, which gives us and you the opportunity even more so to bring yourselves above your competition by being of service. How can I be of service? How can I help you? What can I do to make it an excellent service for you? Motherfuckers don't want to hear that shit, especially when it comes to success and bit. Because I became an entrepreneur to be a boss. I don't want to be telling nobody telling me what to do. I became an entrepreneur to be a boss. Because I don't like working for nobody. I don't want to work for nobody. So you telling me that as an entrepreneur, I have to go from having one boss to everybody being my boss? Yes, motherfucker. That was terrible.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
That's funny. But that's where a lot of people's psychology is they don't want nobody telling them what they do. But we are of service to people. That's how we generate our revenue. We are up by being of service to people. When we talked about luxury brands, did that change a little bit how you see it? Luxury isn't luxury because you walk into a store and they portray being better than you. Luxury is luxury because they service you better than a regular or mid-tier company can. You can bring your shoes back at any time at Nordstrom's. Anytime. You can wear them for 5 years and walk back and bring them back and say, I don't like how they feel no more. And they will refund your money. That's not being better than you. That's being of extreme service to you. So, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? They don't feel like I could just see it in the crowd like that. The feeling, like, man, fuck that. Like, shit. I guarantee you, your revenue generation will go up. I guarantee you. If you having issues in relationships, I ain't serving him. I ain't serving him. It's probably part of the issue. You ain't got how can I serve you on? You probably have issues too. Just keeping it real. Because the independent mindset that is not necessarily our fault that we were raised with, we've separated ourselves from each other. We separated ourselves from each other. I get mine, you get yours. I split it, you split, this, that. You over there, I'm over here. And we've created so much separation that we've lost the idea of service. We just lost it. But businesses at the highest level, the businesses that each and every one of you guys go back to all the time because you love that X, Y, and Z, the product and the service, I guarantee you they're serving you at a higher level to make you feel good. When you go get your nails done and your feet done, it's service. It's service. Them ladies is touching your feet and your nails. You don't know where the hell y'all been. but it's service. It's service. So you gotta, like, in somebody asked me a question during the week. They said, is being of service the same thing as being in submission? What do you guys think? Is being of service the same thing as being in submission? Let's pass the mic. I see it to a degree. I see no's. So let's talk about it. Tanil.
Okay, so for me, the reason I said to a degree is that I feel like for me, service is not something I have to try hard at, but that's because it's in alignment with what I feel my purpose is, right? And who I am as a person. So for me, I have to submit to what I believe my purpose is, and that is serving others, but also being clear on what my boundaries are and being able to tell the difference between serving and going over and being taken advantage of. So there are times where I have to submit to what I believe is what my desire is and what my purpose is. And when I do that, it actually makes me feel like I'm showing up as the best version of myself when I do that. Because to me, service is an act of love in many instances as well.
Good answer. Anybody else?
I don't think it's the same. I view service as working in collaboration with someone to meet an end goal, and submit. Just the root of the word sub is to like be under the control of something. And when you're in service, that you typically aren't under someone's control, but you're working in tandem with them to accomplish something.
Interesting thought. Here's another question. How many got kids? So, for those of you who have kids, do you serve your kids? When they were 6 months old and they couldn't even put the food in their mouth, did you serve them? Did you wipe their mouth afterward? Did you even, like, as the food passed through their body, you even changed their shitty diaper too and cleaned them up, right? Was you of service to them? Are at the same time, are you in submission to them? You say no. You say yes. Anybody else? Think about it.
I had to write this down. To be in submission means it's an act of surrender. So you have to give over your control to be of service to another individual. Whereas
She looked that thing up. Go ahead. I love it.
But to also be in in the act of service, like Kaja just said, and like everyone else just said, you are in collaboration with another person. So being in submission means you are just surrendering your control, as opposed to being of service, where you have some control, you have some autonomy, you have some idea of what you're doing. You're just allowing the collaborative effort and maybe possibly giving over compromise, which is not the same thing.
Thank you for that answer. Excellent answer, the way to articulate that. But the answer is both. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But sometimes you do. Because there's a key word that you said. The act of surrendering control. Now, in entrepreneurship, does things happen constantly that just are outside of our control? All the fucking time. All the time. All the time. I planned A, and then I planned for B and C, and G happened. Control says, I'm going to force my way into these three letters that I said, and if it's not these three letters, I ain't budging. But entrepreneurship is part of entrepreneurship is the act of releasing control too. You don't know what's coming at you. This isn't a clock in and clock out situation. It's constant, everyday reading data, tea leaves, everything, making assessments right on the spot, strategizing years out, and as 20 feet's coming through, every 20 feet you're observing, making assessments, taking action. I think that's part of. I love this dialogue because that's part of the psychology that we have to adjust.
Can I read?
Entrepreneurship, and I'll give it to you. Entrepreneurship is releasing control, is letting yourself go. Are there any limits that you'll put on your children to say, all right, look, you stayed up till 1:30. I got to go to work in the morning. Take your ass to bed. Go to bed. Go to sleep right now. What if the baby don't want to go to sleep? What if it goes to sleep, you go to bed, and then at 3:30 it wakes up? Do you like, no, this is my time? You don't, because you surrendered your control when you decided to have that child. And whatever comes with it, you surrendered your control. You signed up for it. This is part of it. This is it. This is the whole thing. In relationships, it's the same thing. You surrendered your control. You surrendered. That means you gave it up. In a marriage, you gave it up. So you have to understand that part of it is both. It's both. Being of service is both. It's a integrated push and pull relationship between those two. Because you're in submission to the game. Now, if you try to control the game of entrepreneurship, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't getting off the starting block. Try to control the game. I'm gonna do this do it my way, do it this way. I'm gonna try and see how far you go. When you submit yourself to the game, then that puts you into the river, the rhythm. Now you're in the flow of the game. Now you're in the water. The flow of anything is like water. Entrepreneurship is like water. So if you are not of service, like, okay, that's like you trying to fight against the current. You're going to crash. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? Shabisha.
I just wanted to read something that Fern said. She said, being of service is in no way submission to the people I am serving. She's being funny, but she said, because when I serve you, you ain't gonna want no one else serving you.
Ooh. Okay. Did she say baby?
She said baby, and she said jadig at the end.
Oh, that's. I gotta do that, because baby, when I serve you, you ain't gonna want nobody else serving you, baby. You dig? I get it. I absolutely get it. Shakina?
So my business is all service, like 90%. And when I heard the question, my brain was fighting between the two of like yes and no. But then it made me think, so how do you create boundaries within service? Because there is such a thing as overdoing or not protecting. Like, okay, so like if I have a client, like before my trip out of town, I took a day to just do all stretch sessions. And like we have specific times, like 45, 60, or 90 minutes. If a client has an issue on their body, I'm not going to stop at the 45, 60, or 90. I'm going to work through it till they feel better, they feel good. Oftentimes that results in like a really nice tip, which is like them being appreciative of me going above and beyond my service, even though we have a designated time.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I'm like, okay, the boundary is I might spend an extra 10 or 15 minutes per client, but I need to have time to set up, break down for the next person. when you're in a space of service, though, how do you know when you are just over giving instead of like focusing on like what is the balance of good service and what is just you sacrificing yourself?
You're losing money and time. When you're losing time and money, that's your biggest indicators. So 2 things. You strategize your service within your system. And then her next. So there's customer expectation, there's competition, and it's what you do, right? And those extra services are going to cost. They're going to cost, but who's paying for them? You or them? So when I used to go to Sacramento when we were opening up the Sacramento store, I would book a hotel every weekend to go to Sacramento, and then I would just book random ones. Then all of a sudden, one of the random ones I picked, I walked in and they had chocolate chip cookies at the counter, fresh, warm. Take one. What? These are hella good. Guess which hotel I booked? Every weekend after that, theirs. Guess who's paying for them cookies? Me. Because was a hotel slightly expensive? Yeah. So if they charge $1 extra for every person, you can't really feel that, but everybody paying for them cookies. So you bake the cost of your customer service and your extras into your system so that A, you ain't paying for it. And B, the experience that you give is part of what you offer. So you're not being a martyr. There's a difference. Meaning if you cutting your arm off to help somebody, then you ain't got an arm no more. That's what a martyr is. You just keep chopping shit off. You don't have an arm here, take mine. You ain't got a leg here, take mine. And they like, thanks, and walk over your ass and keep on going. So you don't want to be a martyr. Second thing is you still create rules within your system. You create rules and make those rules clear. There's a couple reasons why you make the rules clear. Because just like Shakina said, when the customer knows that you're bending the rules to accommodate them, they're going to be, oh man, thank you, appreciate, which results a lot of times in a hefty tip, right? And it allows you to give passive no's. That's what we do, passive no's. Guess where I learned that from? The OG. Passive no's. We practice that at the office all day, every day. Customer said this, that. We can't do that. I know, but let's just word it like this. Or we bend the rules a lot and it don't hurt us none. Like rarely do I go out of my way and we do all hands on deck and work till 10 o'clock to try to make sure the customer is happy that next day. I used to do that shit all the time and it was horrible. It wore me out, it wore my staff out. And a lot of times it doesn't even give you a big bump in customer satisfaction. They're like, oh yeah, thank you. Motherfucker, do you know that we spent 14 hours, all of us going hard to make sure you got this? So you build your systems. You build your excellent customer service within the system. You make sure your customer is paying for that. So you still make your margin. You still make your profit margins. And and you build your rules in the system. Make it clear to your customer when my account managers, hey, I need to get approval for this. Oh, let me call you back. Hey, coach wants to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, you know what the drill is. All right, I pulled some strings, but it's good. We could do this just this one time so that everybody knows we're keeping everybody within the rules. Now, if they're big clients, big customers that have spent lots of money with us, yes, we bend the rules a little bit, but we don't go outside our system. Because once you go too far outside your system, there's chaos in your company. It's chaos. So that's when you know. When there's chaos, it's confusion, your systems are broken because you're running around trying to please everybody and you're a martyr. That means you're a people pleaser and not a business person. So when you go to that hotel and that high-end hotel and the pillows monogrammed your name, your initials on that pillow, not that they give a fuck about you. That's part of the system. They do a little origami with the tiles, with the animal with a note next to it. Oh, they are so special. You're not special like that. They build the system to make you feel special, and that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. So like I said, I don't drink alcohol. But it's a whole bar in my office because most of my coaches do. And it's a lot of Hennessy in that motherfucker because most of the coaches go hard on the Hennessy. And it's NBA Hennessy, it's Hennessy Black, it's Hennessy this, it's Hennessy what. There's all kind of different types of Hennessy's. Why? Because when they walk in there, they like, I can't get this nowhere. I can't get this nowhere else. So while I'm waiting for them to box my shit, I'm going to have a drink.
Got him!
Maybe turn it on, hit that power.
So I actually do have a few examples of practicing being of service. I just be trying to hide back here and not talk.
Don't be hiding. Don't be hiding. Especially with that outfit on. You killing.
Thank you. The first one is for one of me and Shakina's meal prep clients, Amanda. She placed an order a few weeks ago, and I reached out to her, and she was like, I didn't really like the food. So I remade her a bunch of other stuff for free. And then she texted me this week, and she was like, oh, I like this and this and this, and gave me feedback. And then she offered me like a partnership with her because she wants to do like a healthy cooking class, like just like make it a reoccurring thing. So that was one thing.
Dope.
Yeah. And I'm new at all this. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, by the way.
It's all right.
And then also my photography is more like my hobby. But I had my supervisor at my job that I hate. Somebody showed her my photos and she wanted to do a photo shoot. So I was like, fine. She wanted to do a family shoot and an engagement shoot the same day. Like, it was just a bunch of random stuff, right? And I was like, whatever, let's just do it. And she wanted to do outdoor at the beach in the city. And then like at the last minute, it was just windy and she had old parents and, it just didn't work out. So at the last minute, I was like, just pull up to the house. I got a bunch of event space here. We can figure it out. And we made it work. And she was hecka grateful and like tipped me like half of what I charged her. And I didn't even charge that much. It was dope. And she booked a bunch more shoots too.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, more money in the bank.
Yeah.
More money in the bank. That's how shit goes. I have to go to LA for a business meeting. I go to Yelp, look for a restaurant to eat that night. I find one. I was too lazy to help read. I'm just like, what's the number one? Boom, hit it. Went over there and it was a crab boil place. So sit down. I order my stuff. I order crab and in the bag and all the shit. So I'm waiting. Stuff comes. So I pull a piece out. I don't know if I look bougie or not. I didn't know the gloves was there. So I grabbed the thing out. I'm trying to crack it and trying to figure out how the whole thing worked. And the owner walks up to my table, sits down at my table, put her gloves on, and she cracked every piece of crab for me, every single piece. Scooped the meat out and put it in my bowl of rice. Every piece. So I'm sitting there looking at her like, okay, thank you. And she did the next one. Thank you. And she did the next one. Thank you. I'm like, she's going to do and she sat there until the whole crab, all the meat was pulled out, and she had just a pile of crab meat sitting, and she got up and walked away. It was like 15 minutes. I tipped them $40. She was going to stand there anyway because she had to work. What did she lose? But the experience was embedded so hard in my mind that I'm telling the story right now. because she once you click into that service mentality, you move with service. You just move with it. People want to be around you. They want to, because, and you ain't losing nothing. Actually, you're gaining. You end up benefiting more from being like that. You end up getting more clients, more money, more situations, more people that fuck with you, because that independent energy, it's a scent that you give off. It's a scent. Nobody want to fuck with you. You can feel that vibe.
There's my partner Jean Paul. He has a couple of points he brought up online, but I think this is a good one to start with. Which is when there is well-being, when their well-being is costing yours. So he's saying, like, you know, as when you're being submissive and service, how do you protect your well-being? Are you, like, to the point that, you know, because sometimes you serve so much, like you was highlighting earlier, and then he wants you to talk about the passive no's. Like, give him an example of how the passive no's works.
So I think one good example is Nana, right? Nana runs a company. He has a daughter. He has a whole family, married man, and he runs a company, and he runs a nonprofit organization that teaches class and mentors entrepreneurs. Lots of entrepreneurs, lots of them. So, brother getting calls all day, a lot, by a lot of people, all the time. And this is serious shit. Money on the line, big situations, and probably relationship, emotional shit. How do you manage all of it, right? At the same time, how do you, without losing your own sanity, right? Because we talked about what a martyr is, right? And I want to let you answer that, but before I let you answer that, I want to throw some shit in. It's, first thing is, you can't help the poor if you're one of them. It's a Jay-Z quote. You can't help the poor if you're one of them. So you have to be pouring out of a full cup. If you're pouring into anybody, it has to come from a full cup. And do you pour all of it? No, your cup has to be big enough that as you're pouring, you always have more than enough for yourself. Which means your investment in yourself and in your family has to be way more than what you pour out. So if you're pouring out a lot, that means your investment in yourself has to be way more. So first off comes from your daily routines of giving to yourself. How much do you read? How much do you learn? Because when you learn something from a book every morning, that's part. Man, we be preaching this shit and telling y'all to do shit, man. I'm telling you, if you follow it, if you listen to it, it's almost like double and triple entendres in a rap song. The surface verse you hear is like, oh yeah, that's dope. But the secondary and thirdary things that happen once you do it, it also adds lots of benefits to your life. So in this equation of liminal thinking and being of service, when you have a routine and you're reading a book, and this book just poured into you, oh shit, I just learned something. Oh man, this is dope. I'm gonna apply this. Thank you. Something just poured into you. When you work out, that's being poured into you. When you meditate, that's being poured into you. When you have exercise and do things that pour, and you do it on a daily basis, when it's time to give to others, it's a donation. It's coming out of 10% of your emotional bank account. When you don't do any of those things, you exhausted mentally, emotionally. You got wore out from the day. You got wore out from your kids, and now it's time to serve your clients. You like, no, fuck that. Take the thing, man. Take this thing. How much is it? $9.99. Take the thing. You ain't thinking about no service, cause you ain't got it. Your mental bandwidth is too low to even think about it. So pouring into yourself is step one. But no.
Man, you. I didn't know why you stopped. You look at. It's like I'm adding to the pile, right? It's already rocks. Can you throw a pebble? I think a couple things. One is I think when you're a taker or a matcher, going back to the giving, taking, and matcher. When you're a matcher and you're looking for, if I give, I want to receive something back. It's exhausting. It's exhausting because in the end you're looking for returns on your, like you're looking for, I put $1 in, I want $2 back. When you're a giver, you're reframing the experience and it's your joy, right? Now, I only can give, I have boundaries. That's what makes a giver a strong giver. They have boundaries. So if it's my daughter time, my phone is off. You can call me all you want, I'm not going to answer, right? If my business is busy, I got to make sure I don't put too much time into these other things. But if I have the capabilities or the possibilities to go further, it excites me to go further. I get a pleasure from going further. So I don't feel like I'm giving something up. Because the way I frame it, I'm doing what I want to do. And so I'm always enjoying the process of, how can I show up in a way? And then my last point is that in the context of 510 Media, the for-profit business, a lot of us look at competition as negative. You know, like say somebody comes in and steal your whole lineup, your business, your structure, and you think, oh God, they're stealing my business, right? But in business, it doesn't work that way, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Because if I steal your stuff and I pass you up, that means you wasn't a good business. The way you beat your competition, you got to outrun them. You got to constantly outrun your competition. You don't get to hold a spot. And the only people to do that is government. And you see how government runs. It's trash, right? If you ever work with a government organization, so much bureaucracy, so many layers of friction, horrible customer service. Think of DMV, just trash experience. But when you're out here for profit in a competitive world, you got to figure out different ways to beat your competition. And so I was listening to Build-A-Bear, which is a company. And they asked, Russ Robert asked Build-A-Bear, hey, have you dealt with competition, like people building their own versions of bears, right? She says, no, a few people tried, but they weren't strong enough because no one can do it like us. That's it. So in the end, when I run 510 Media, we got to always figure out how can we do it better than anybody else, which puts you in a position of the best possible service known to man.
Yeah. This is an entrepreneur class, right? This is an entrepreneur class? Y'all signed up to be a part of an entrepreneur class, right? Yeah? Okay. Just checking. Because when you sign up to be entrepreneurs, you playing a different game than everybody. You just are. That's like saying, I don't want to be in an army, I want to be a Navy SEAL. It's a different class. It's different expectations, right? So if we were to illustrate this like this, you take a tree, right? A tree is rooted in the ground. It can't move. So somebody has to water it. And depending on how much water, where it is, or how much nutrients is in the dirt that the tree is sitting in, and how much water it's getting, depends on how much fruit it produces. So it needs other outside elements. Water, it needs sunlight, it needs other elements for it to produce. Now, if it ain't got any of those things or half of those things, then the production if it's not producing, then it got people to blame. Shit, I'm sitting here, my tree is under a big tree, so I get no sun because I'm shaded this whole time, and I can't jump around and move, right? It's logical, right? My tree is in the fucking Mojave Desert, so you ain't getting shit because I ain't getting water. It's logical, right? These are employees. That's employee mindset. If you're an employee, you have the right to say those things. I wasn't trained correctly. I didn't have this. I'm not in the right this. Because as employees, you need other variables to help you succeed. If you have an employee mindset, you could be an employee, but You can have different mindsets as an employee. What an entrepreneur is you're the sun. You're the sun. So the sun is fueled and the fire keeps going in the sun by how? What keeps the fire going? Itself. So the makeup of the sun is self-generating. This sun has been shining for how long? Billions, right? Billions. How much longer is the sun going to shine? Who the fuck knows? But we know it's going to show up tomorrow. And the next day, probably 5, 10 years from now, 1,000 years from now, because the sun generates. Now, the sun, it does not discriminate who it shines on. And by the sun shining on you, you don't get no less sun. Or if I give you some warmth or some heat or some shine, it doesn't detract from me. I don't feel less than. Like, oh man, I gave him some sun, and then she didn't even appreciate it, and now I'm all depleted. That's not how the sun works. As entrepreneurs, our abilities, our desires, our goals is to build something that creates an ecosystem. So you build something, you provide. Now, would you consider the sun, is the sun of service to you? Is a sun of service to you? Does it serve you? Hell yeah, it serves you. Unconditionally, right? Unconditionally. And that's how you got to move. You build your system so that you can't lose. If something happens and they didn't appreciate it, or you got to give you can't lose. You keep it pushing. It's built within your systems. Take your feelings out of it. You're the sun. The sun shines on a rat's ass just as much as the biggest philanthropist in the world. It shines on the most spiritual, helpful, giving person, and it shines on a thief and a killer and a manipulator. I can't with it. Do you feel me? So as an entrepreneur, you're building systems. You're going to have employees at times that don't appreciate the shit that you do. You're going to have customers. Here's the thing about providing excellent service, and we experience this at our company, is once you raise the bar, that becomes an expectation. Courtney, where my Hennessy at? What, motherfucker? What? It's not, oh, you got Hennessy. That shit died a year ago. That's dope. You got Hennessy. Man, it's where my Hennessy at. Emotions say, where else can you go to get some Hennessy? Huh? No, you got to say, we got you. It's over there. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Y'all always take care of me. Because it becomes, now the minute you drop below, even a micro of that expectation, what's the perception? You are horrible, terrible. Man, y'all fell off. If you've read the E-Myth, you'll know what I'm talking about. So once you set the expectation, you got to hold to it. And but if you're always a progressor and you're always progressing, then you ain't tripping anyway. Like you don't even look back at those, because you're always striving to get better, get stronger, improve upon what you did before. So you're constantly growing.
I was hoping, could you talk about, this is something that I failed horribly at in the beginning of my business, of healthy growth of customer service. So like, when I was first starting my brick and mortar, I wanted to be so big so fast that like I would try to do hella extra shit to impress my customers, but it wasn't sustainable. So then like you know, I would show up like a superstar here and they'd be like, yo, this is super tight. But then I'm like, okay, I can only do this for like 10, 15, 20 clients. I can't do it for 100 people. Can you talk about like what are healthy ways to improve the experience without the detriment to yourself? Because I feel like it's really easy to do as a business, having a good intent in the beginning and not measuring the long term.
That's a great question. Great question. It starts with something you guys know. The first principles in the second order thinking is like, don't tell me the idea is bad when I'm first principling. Let me just spread it all out. And I'll have a Lamborghini at the end of this, right? There's a Lamborghini here. Okay, cool. Now let me throw it away. Now let's go. Let's tear this apart. What can I do in this time frame within my system that's sustainable? Not saying I'll throw this away, but this might be year 2, year 3, year 4. So let's build systems around this that's sustainable at year 1 and start here. And then you can always tweak. You can always add more. And sometimes we evaluate. We do it at our company. All right, time out. Yo, this ain't it. Because I see all y'all staying here past 7:30, leaving at 7:30. That's not what I'm trying to do. So what's going on? And then let's scale this back to certain points in our business to where we build a system to where it's manageable and sustainable, because this ain't sustainable. But don't promise. Here's the one thing you don't do. Don't be promising Lamborghinis at the very beginning, because you're first principling, you're second ordering. Let it be a surprise to them. So once you let it be a surprise, don't say shit when you're in the trying stage. Let it be a surprise to them. Hey, here's a wet wipe for you to wipe your hands. Oh, thank you. How easy it will be for me to just add wet wipes every time. That's not really that. Okay. Boom. So now it's in the system. But at the beginning, let them all be surprised. Because if it fails or it's not sustainable, then you can pull it out and it's not part of the system. It's not being an expectation. All right. Oh.
Can we do one more?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the difference between people pleasing versus being a business person?
People pleasing is attached to martyrdom. People pleasing means you will deplete yourself to give to others. That's people pleasing.
You didn't do a passive nose either.
Oh, passive no. Okay, let's talk about passive no. So people pleasing is I have an hour to myself. I'm just gonna dedicate an hour to myself. I'm gonna do what my stuff and read or whatever, and your phone goes off. And it's somebody that you really respect and look up to, but you gave yourself that hour to yourself. People pleasing is, hey, what you need? What can I just need a vent. I just need to vent. I just need somebody to talk to. Okay, go ahead. Motherfucker, what? You just sacrificed yourself, a piece of yourself, for the sake of others. And they're like, oh man, that felt good. Thank you. All right, I appreciate that. Bye. Now, the opposite is, outside of that window, you're available if you have time to talk to people and get it in and discuss and help. But in that window, that's yours. That's yours. So in life, it's like that too. And I also will say this. If you're a parent, you're a mom, you're a dad, you're running a business, and life intertwines with chaos, you have to be creative with it. You absolutely do. But you always make sure you give into yourself. And what you give to others does not break you. When I learned one thing the first time being a millionaire, first time, I was having a hard time with the borrowers. I was having a hard time because I was a flashy motherfucker. So it was an easy, like, hey, I need to borrow. Can I borrow? Can I borrow? And I didn't know how to say no. So somebody taught me to say no. You put a percentage of your money that you want to give to people in a separate bank account. If it's 5%, 2%, 3%, whatever the percentage is, you put it in a separate bank account. If somebody said, and the other 98 is for your life. And if somebody says, hey, Court, can I borrow money? You check that bank account. And whatever's in there, can I borrow $100? And if you got $50 in there, you're like, I got 50. You can have it. Oh, thank you. Oh, if it's 1,000 in there, you can. But if it's nothing in there and you got $1 million in this account and it's 0 in that given account, can I borrow? I don't got nothing to give. I don't got nothing to give because you don't. You don't got nothing. And I don't know if that's the best salute, but it helped me tremendously. I check my giving account. There's nothing in there to give. Maybe next month. But whatever I gave, you can have it. You can have it. So I think that's one of the key indicators. Second thing is, let's talk passive no's. Let's talk passive no's. Beautiful thing I learned here. Passive no's. Meaning, you don't want to say no all the time to the customer. You want to let them say no. Oh, no, shit, I can't do that. I can't do that. So most of our no's is embedded in our pricing. So if something is $200 and if somebody bumps up against a no, that's $800. I'll do it for you. But that's going to cost us a lot. That's why we got to do this and that. It's going to be about $800. Oh, shit. Never mind. Okay, it's cool. No problem. So I don't say no. I let them say it. 80% of the time. 80% of the time. You know, the funny part is sometimes they say, well, yeah, that's fine. Let's do it. And our profit and everything and cushion and all that shit in there. So I'm good. So sometimes randomly in stand-up meetings, they're like, we're doing like this rare thing to these uniforms. We're doing it? Yeah, and I gave him the price, and he still wants to go forward with it. And then everybody's irritated. I'm like, time out. No. We just made like 7x our profit, so we good. But passive no's is what allow you to stay within the parameters of your rules and let the customer say no. So on rare occasions do I even have to say it. Everybody's trained for that. Passive no's is the best. That's how you can stay within that being of service energy. Because the minute you hear no, I can't do that. No, I can't. It kind of like it triggers, it pulls like a rejection kind of energy. People feel rejected, right? But when you have a menu that's surrounding your parameters that allows you to say, well, I can't do it, but it's going to be X, Y, and Z. And the reasons is this, and this is what it's going to be. And like, oh shit, I didn't know that. Okay, I'm sorry. I infringed upon that. They apologize. So passive no's is powerful. And I think Nana should teach a whole segment about it because I learned it from him. You know what I'm saying? I'm just putting an agenda on him. But I think it's game though. And once I learned it, I ran with that shit. All right, let's go next slide. I spent time on this because we needed that. So if I ever am up here and I'm gonna ask the question about triangulation again, and I'm gonna ask some of service questions again because these are critical for y'all. So I don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. So be prepared. So we're ending liminal thinking. This is the last few pieces of information we're gonna discuss about liminal thinking. This is it. We've scrubbed through a lot. So I hope you guys have gathered a lot from it and you are trying it. You're just trying to implement it into your daily business, into your daily life. So let's get through these slides quickly. So, Shabisha.
Excuse me. She who asks the most questions wins.
Curiosity. She who asks the most questions wins. Curiosity. Always ask questions. If you like being in control, this is your opportunity to be in control. because whoever's asking the most questions is in control. And ego says the opposite. Ego says you got to be making statements. You got to be telling people about themselves. You got to be proving how right you are. You got to say, you got to say this, you got to say that, you got to say that. No, it's actually the opposite. Because when you're asking the questions, you put the other person on their heels and you force them to think about an answer. So when you are applying liminal thinking in any situation, or if you're trying to get to the bottom of a situation, ask questions. Ask questions. Whoever asks the most questions in the negotiations wins. Next slide. Now, I love this part because it's two counterintuitive things. You're talking about what works on level A doesn't work on level B. This is one of them. So on level A, your goal and your idea is to get a rhythm, get a routine. Okay, 6 o'clock, I wake up, I meditate, I read, and then I get breakfast, and then I go work out, and then I hit the gym, and then I go to the office, and I do X, Y. You get a routine. Get your body, your mind, and your spirit adapted to a routine. Get a rhythm of consistency. That's how you get to the next level. That's how you get to the next level. In business, you're liable to everyone around you. You become the sun. You guys never have to worry about whether the sun's going to come out or not, because it's giving you evidence based on the past that I'm showing up to the point that you can pinpoint my location to the precise exact place. That's how you want to get at level A. And that'll get you to the next level. But at the next level, it can fuck you up. It can fuck you up. Have you ever spent a year in a gym with no progress? What the fuck is going on? I'm here every day. I'm sore. I'm sweating. What was going on? I'm regular. It's because at the next level, shit don't work no more. Ooh, that shit don't work no more. Why? What kind of trickery is that? Because that's the way the universe works. Too much routine at the next level will fuck you up. You got to change it up. You got to disrupt. You got to disrupt your system. Post-COVID, I got to just kind of a stagnant place in the gym. I wasn't getting stronger. I wasn't changing, but I'm there every day. Stagnant place. And then my youngest son moves in with me, and I'm trying to help him to establish a rhythm. So we go into the gym every day. But he's an athlete, played college basketball. So I have to step my game up to let this motherfucker know, like it's still, I still give it to you. Him doing that to me, I'm working out harder. I'm running harder. I'm eating better. And now I'm hella stronger in 2 months because he disrupted my routine. And then I realized that, oh shit, I'm running faster on this treadmill with the hill, and I'm like, oh, I ain't letting you out pull up me. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm gotta let you know on these weights who your daddy is. So next thing you know, that competitive energy.
Who's your daddy?
You feel me?
Who's your daddy, huh?
Is there a who's your daddy button? Love it. But that energy forced me out of my routine. It disrupted my routine. And I'm like, the weight I've been trying to lose for 6 months, I just lost it in 2. So what works at this level, once you realize you hit that stagnant, you got to disrupt it. And it sounds weird because you work so hard to get a routine. You work so hard to get a rhythm. You work so what? It's how the game goes. Same in your business. If your sales is stagnant, disrupt your routine in sales. If your relationship is stagnant, disrupt your routine in your relationship. Disruption is the beauty of growth. Disruption. How you grow is by disrupting what you're doing. That's why in any organization, corporation, friendship group, you always need a disruptor. If all y'all are the same, whack. Who's the Bobby Brown in your group? Who's the Bobby Brown in your group? I'm the Bobby Brown in every group. You need a Bobby Brown. If you don't have a Bobby Brown in your group, you're stacked. If you don't have a Bobby Brown in your office, on your team, somebody that has the ability to be like, man, hold up, I don't agree with that. Or if not, like, that's what makes the beauty of this world go round, is the different personalities. So in business, you need that diversity. You need that challenge. You need that disruption. The problem with a lot of big corporations and why they get outshined by these fast-moving small companies is because they got into a routine, making money year after year. They making billions now. So in order to be a competitor, a small company has to disrupt the system. It has to find the splinters in the game. So never allow yourself to get stuck. Question.
Just to go back quickly to the previous slide about curiosity, do you think there's a benefit to exercising curiosity through trial experiences versus questions? I feel like I know the answer to that, and I think it might depend on where you are. For me, with where I am right now, that might be feasible because I'm playing on a very, very small scale. But if I was playing at a bigger scale, or if I was a full-time entrepreneur, that could be extremely detrimental, that you are exercising curiosity through trying versus through asking and then letting those answers direct you on what you try.
Both. Absolutely both. Because there's some things that you can run a thought experiment with and give you accurate answers. And there's other things, which is probably the majority of the time, that you won't know until you try it. I would say you give your best work, though. You give your best work, knowing that you could be completely flawed, knowing that it could be completely off, and then you try it. Because if I was to say, who played basketball? Who played basketball when they were young? Anybody? If I was to say, Shakina, can you write a book teaching someone how to shoot a jump shot? Just how to make the shot. There's nothing you can write on that paper. There's nothing you can write on that paper that can make the person read it and then they first time out, swish. Nothing. Because it takes your personal feel of the thing to actually get into the rhythm of making it. Now, you can use certain fundamental tenets in that book to give you structure, but you still need to go out and try it. That's why. Let's talk about real rhythm. Have you ever watched one of them bullshit ass like hip hop class? Step 1, you do this. Step 2, you do this. You do that, and it's funny as fuck. We've been learning dances our whole life. We ain't never did that shit because the kinestheticness of who we are, we just watch it. And then we get into the rhythm of it and then we figure it out, right? Because some things you have to try. So it's both. And you have to determine which one is which, but you all have to eventually try it anyway. But if you're trying it with curiosity, you don't have expectations. You don't have hard expectations in the moment.
Okay. But there's no way to understand when to lean into one versus the other. Like with the questions and curiosity, a lot of times I feel myself getting like irritated, bored. Like I'm definitely a person who learns more by doing something, and then I get the lesson on the back end. The questions feel like preventative questions, which is a smart strategy so that you don't go fall off a cliff. But sometimes I learn on that cliff in the fall, right? But again, I'm not playing with the house money right now, so you can afford to go jump off the cliff. That hopefully will not always be the case.
Yeah, so I'm saying I feel that, but that's not scalable because right now your cliff is just a sidewalk step. So you fall off that, you could catch yourself. But as you scale, your business get bigger, that cliff is in Lake Tahoe. So that fall, you're going to die. So it's best you plan exit strategies, you put a parachute on your back, all the things in the strategy so that when you jump off and you're like, oh, shit, this is not working. Parachute. Damn. I'm glad I had. That's what the strategy, the strategic part is for. What if that's what triangulation does. What if it doesn't work? What's the worst that can happen in this situation? What's the worst that can happen? Well, let me plan for that. Let me prepare that. What are all my options? Because I'm going to try this shit. Entrepreneurship is you're a black swan. You're saying you're about to say that you can make something happen that people haven't made happen yet. So majority of people are going to say that ain't going to work. You can't logic yourself. You can't logic your way to entrepreneurship. You fucking cannot. There has to be a point to where you're like, I'm going to try this. Because every single one of us or anybody who's tried something big on an entrepreneur scale didn't logically, strategically, intellectually go every step along the way. No, you said, I think I can do this. I believe in myself. And your ego stroked you enough to where you tried it. You jumped. But your jump was this small. I learned something from that. Let me add to it. And over time, so yes, and it's both again. Jump off, but make sure that when you jump off, you have contingency in place. And if you strategize well enough, a quarter of those times, you're not going to jump. Ooh, wait, wait. Oh, so that's not a cliff. That's a lake down there? Thank you for doing the research. Last question. We got to move.
It wasn't a question. It was just more a comment to the thing. I think when trying to figure out the difference, what I try to practice is a risk assessment. So if it's something simple like I'm changing out my marketing photo and like I have a diverse range of clients, I'm like, if I choose a young person or if I choose an old person, that's something that has low risk assessment because I could just run a split test ad and it's not going to really cost me any money. It's just the ad's going to convert and I can spend a low budget on it, or it's not going to convert. A bigger option would be like, do I hire person A or do I hire person B? Like one person has the skill set and the background, the other person I'm gonna have to train, they might fuck up. It's gonna be this cost associated with. So I think that just building a system of asking questions on what is the risk associated with the thing that you want to practice on, and are you willing to take the risk of it if it's a loss. I think that that's helpful for me in like the practical day-to-day stuff is risk assessment.
Yep. Next slide. And I'm going to answer the question that's in the previous slide with this. Go ahead, Shapisha. I see.
Oh, you saw it. Disconnect your emotions from your beliefs.
Okay. So, in one of the questions, it was asking about the what if your customer doesn't have the capacity to answer questions? In the context of what we're talking about beliefs, right? Beliefs that you hold. In order for you to contain a belief, a lot of people jump to belief based on past experiences. Entrepreneurs will create beliefs loosely based on context and curiosity. So while one person's belief weighs a ton, it's heavy, it's a rock. Most entrepreneurs' beliefs are like gallon jugs with tops on them that can be removed and pour this out. It's just as heavy, but it can be easily poured out. So get creative in terms of finding your belief may not come from one person. If your belief is based off of inquiry from one person, you're not doing enough research. Ask more people, find out more, do more research. Because we're talking liminal thinking and in the context of beliefs. Because maybe that one particular person doesn't have the capacity to answer, but what demographic group are they part of? What demographic group are they part of? There's 100 other people like them that's in your grasp. You can find out. Is it a miracle that I know that the coaches that rock with us, a lot of them drink Hennessy? Is it just a miracle? Sometimes they walk in like it is. How'd you know I drink Hennessy? Man, I fuck with y'all, man. Man, I researched you. I did a whole I snuck in your house and looked in your cabinets. No, motherfucker, like, there's a lot of other research you can do around.
Can I just add one thing too? I think this is one of those subjects that everybody can listen to quickly, but it's probably the hardest one if you come from a culture that suffers from not feeling like they're good enough. Because if you ever watch The Hood, there's these two brothers who did this comedy about they're gonna fight and they call each other, or he calls his brother on his woman's phone every time. Well, he calls his partner on his woman's phone, and they always talk about matching up the fight to meet somewhere, right? It's the same skit. It's like 25 versions of the skit. But the reason it's so funny is because the emotional attitude that they show is classic Black community attitude. And when you don't feel like you're good enough, you think your beliefs is the only value you have. Because your value, your beliefs is you. You don't realize that when you give up those beliefs, there's a better version of you waiting on the other side. But you'll never find it because you're trying to protect that old belief. And so that emotional connection, it takes time. You got to practice your way out of that. Like, you can't just, oh yeah, I'm going to take my emotions out of my beliefs. That's like you saying you know what you're going to feel tomorrow. You know what you're going to feel if somebody hit you in the jaw you didn't see coming tomorrow. You're going to know what you're going to do if you find out your best friend just betrayed you tomorrow. And so that emotional connection, I think folks are saying, oh yeah, I can do it. If you think you can make that adjustment, just realize you're going to start the practice session now. But it took me years. It wasn't something I just was all of a sudden like, yeah, my emotions and my beliefs are separate. Like this is a simple words, but it's probably one of it's a practice. It's not something that there's no leverage to flip here. You're gonna have to grow this muscle because we're used to having that emotional protection. Go to corporate America, that's all they do is they have emotionally protecting their beliefs. And if you work in that world, you're emotionally protecting your beliefs. Now you come out here as an entrepreneur and you over here trying to protect beliefs and you realize you act like a dog in a wolf world. In order to be a wolf in this game, you got to learn how to turn those emotions down and let your curiosity and imagination go, if I change, what does this mean? As opposed to what? I'm this, but if I change to this, can I make that work? Right? And a lot of times, change is often guarded by this emotional belief. And a lot of us are sitting in class reading all these books, but we're the same people because we just can't get past our emotional beliefs.
And I think what we'll do is we're going to start from here next week because this is, Nana has a really rich class, and I don't want to continue going over. So we'll start from here next week because this is important to discuss, and we can spend some time talking about the what and the how on this. So we're going to call it. So I guess this ain't the last class we're going to talk about liminal thinking. Next class is, and we're going to make that happen. So, all right, we're going to switch.
All right, pause. Show you right. Hey, my microphone on? Is my microphone on? Oh, there you go. There you go. Show you right. Show you right. Right on. Right on. Right on. Huh? I can use my iPad. I'm good. Couple things. So on the 19th, our last class, I'm gonna slide this down. Of course, taller than me. On our last class, we're gonna have a special guest. As entrepreneurs, I look at other performing entrepreneurs as heroes in our community. And anybody ever heard of the McBride sisters? They're doing millions. They're in Forbes magazine. So on the 19th, I've been holding on this for about a month now. But they have a group of cohorts in their program, and their program has you have to be making a certain amount of money. I'm gonna let them disclose that to you. But they're all millionaires. And they have a nonprofit where they're training other women to perform in this industry. And they're bringing the cohorts to Hope. And one of the McBride sisters will actually be in the Hope class on the 19th. So those of you at home as well as here on the 19th, please try to show up so we can really show a warm welcome to the 30 students that will be joining our class from around the nation. I think only one is in the Bay Area, but everybody else around the nation online. We want to just show a lot of love to them. They're going to be joining the Hope family and be part of this entrepreneur gym that we created. And I mean gym like 24-hour fitness. Second thing, I think that was the most important. I think there was something else, but it's going to come back to me. That's what happens when you don't write something down. I was over there thinking too much. Can we get to the slide, move slides forward to, you might move slides forward on that, or to the first one I'm going to be working with. Give me a second. Keep going. Hold on. Okay, go back one more. Oh, yeah, that one right there. Okay. Josh, I swear to God, I'm going to kill you. I swear to God, I swear. Fatality. So a couple things before we get started. In this class, often you hear me call a lot of entrepreneur programs trash. And one of the reasons I call a lot of programs trash is because they try to give you a whole bunch of recipes to make you a chef. And recipes sound so good, especially, I don't know if you guys ever made a great cake off a recipe. I know I have. And when I made the cake, I fooled myself into thinking I knew how to make that cake. But if somebody walked me into a room of raw products or into a different kitchen or removed my recipe, I can't even make dough at all because I didn't know anything about making cakes. But I took the ingredients that somebody gave me, the instructions that somebody gave me, and I transferred to myself this arrogance that I understand how to make cakes. And so a lot of entrepreneur classes, this includes the Tony Robbins in them, they give you a lot of recipes that feel really, 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 really good, but they don't give you principles. What makes a chef is they understand the principle of cooking. We passed out our podcast over the 2-week break. And hopefully you guys take some time and listen to it. It's probably the most powerful podcast of the year because it's a transitional podcast of this class showing you that although we're discussing behavior, economics without understanding behavior is not economics. Because at the end of the day, moving your money around is emotional. It's very emotional. It is. I don't care if you got 10 million and you're about to put $1 million into investment. It's extremely emotional. I don't care if you got $20 and you put $1 into investments. It's still emotional. And when it's time to make those decisions, how you see life, your beliefs, your feelings, all are shaping the way you move your money, invest your money, and even move your business. So, in a sense, hopefully you guys got a chance to listen to that podcast. And if you guys have questions, maybe next week we'll take in some questions around some of the principles around finance. And those basic principles, I think it was some like total 30-something principles. But those principles are being mixed and twisted all the time. And as you learn more and go deeper to finance, you'll hear those same principles come up over and over. And what happens is that people who are advanced in their financial skills, you hear them reference those principles really quickly. And now you'll be able to hear and understand the context of what they're talking about. But if you didn't listen to that podcast, that's on you. Sometimes I feel like in this class, we got 3 different people trying to get to the NBA. We got the one person who watches basketball at the house all the time, swear they could play LeBron James. Then you got this other guy who plays basketball but never really practices, but somehow he just relies on natural talent. And then you got that person who, when the game is over, they practice. On the weekends, they're practicing. When the summer's over, they in pickup leagues. When they're in pickup leagues, they're practicing. When they're not practicing, they're going to watch other people practice to learn new tips on how to practice. Unfortunately, many of you guys are not going to ever become good entrepreneurs because you're not practicing. Like, this information is for you to go home and play with it, learn it, tinker with it, try it out. Also, talk to other people about it. Share the ideas and process the information. But some of you guys are reading this information and just can't wait to go to your next party and espouse how much you know. Or you can't wait to look at somebody else and judge, see, this is why they're making mistakes. Court said it best. You're empty because you don't pour into yourself. And then, you know what's hard for me? And I'm going to be old now for a second. To listen to an empty motherfucker talk to me when they don't put any time into themselves. And they want to tell me this long, well poetic group of words of why they feel so empty. And you know, every time I ask a simple question, well, let's see, what do you do for yourself? And they have never prioritized themselves, but then they want to eat my time up, which I'm not going to do it because I cut them boundaries. That's how I cut some of my boundaries. It's because you won't pour into yourself. What the fuck am I going to do? Just be sympathetic? Like, I'm not your soap opera friend. I don't sit down and watch the days of your life. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, you got to make that fucking investment and don't ask me to do it for you. Like, ask yourself, if you're sitting here every day and you're just a fan watching the game on TV, but you're still talking about getting to the NBA, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What the fuck's up with me?
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
It's about practice. Love it, bruh. Love it. It's about practice. Seriously, y'all. Like, if there's 2 things that make you grow in this game. You tinker, and you hang around people that you can like dance certain ideas. Matter of fact, a lot of times you may even have the idea before you read the book, and the book just helps you articulate the idea you already had. But if you're around people who, you know, have you ever wore something new before that was kind of wild and fly, and you hit the wrong circle with that outfit on first, and they just hit you with jokes? And that night you got home and you wondered, should you ever wear that again? And then maybe 2 weeks later, you see an entertainer wearing it, and it goes viral, and you realize you wore that outfit already, but you stopped yourself from continuing wearing that outfit because the people you were around. Some of your careers are already stunted because the people you're around. You have these amazing ideas, but as soon as you espouse those ideas to the right people, to the wrong people, it's jokes. It's what are you thinking about? Why are you doing this? Right? And so you're going to have to design your life for this shit. Stop making your life just a reactionary, like you're like a leaf floating in the air, acting like you know where you're going. But the wind shifts, that's the only direction you can go in, because you never had any direction. And before I get started, I just want to say one quick thing. And this is a side note. We got a lot of African-American and Latino activists in this class. I just want to say to you guys, and I'm going to get into this another day, yo, stay with us. Because the activists in this class, you're in the right place. You know, I always say I hate social justice, right, Kaja? I always say that shit sucks to me. Because often social justice doesn't have historical context. It's rooted in good versus bad, right versus wrong. But when you look at shit historically, you realize, oh shit, this is deeper. Also, you know, I read a lot of history books in different categories. Systemic racism is so much more powerful and so invisible to us, you can't see it. You really can't see it in everyday conversations. You just feel like something's different, but you can't see it. It's like an invisible climate change or an invisible gas being released in a room, and before you know it, everybody's sleepy or passing out, but we don't even know why we passed out, right? Systemic change can make you think that you're the problem when the system around you has been setting you up this whole time to fail. Like, when I went to go visit, so my partner who I told you guys about, who reads an hour and a half a day, he called me up the other day and said, yo, I just bought a new house in Danville. Come up here and chill. I got to talk to you about some stuff, family stuff. I need to holler at you real quick. And he only calls me like once a year like that. I get in my car, put in my GPS. Yo, you live in Black Hawk? This is a hood dude. Reads an hour and a half a day. Oh, yeah, man. I just, I'm up here, man. Don't trip. So I get up there and we chilling. And I'm looking around and I realize, and he's talking about his son's school. He's like, there's my son goes to school. He's telling me all the benefits they have, how the school's set up. And if you walk in that school, you just feel like you're somebody. You're like, oh shit. I've never ever been in school where school told me I was somebody. School just told me, hey, this is a factory built. Get your ass through it, and if you don't, fuck you. But it said you are somebody. And you know what I said to myself? Why is changing school so difficult? Why don't we just take a field trip? Go to Castro Valley, go to their high school. Go to Danville, go to their high school. And you go, oh, I gotta see what's wrong with Oakland schools. The ecosystem tells the kids they ain't shit. Why is it that Castlemont exists between Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Walnut Creek, and Alameda, and you don't see systemic racism? Black and brown people begin fucked. But we get caught in tit for tat. And he say, she say, oh, this person doesn't like my label. Oh, he thinks, she said this about, she went like this, and so this is racist. They don't accept us. We're so busy, you taking all the valuable mental resources of all this, what this thing called human beings. Human beings are one of the most valuable assets, one of the most valuable assets on this earth. And you take that brain power and you distract it on little minor ass, small ass, insignificant issues that you probably will never solve. I am comfortable saying that there will always be somebody that don't like black people. And guess what? I will not lose 2 seconds of sleep. I won't even change the sandwich I'm going to eat this evening. I won't turn on my TV. I won't reduce one bench press. Because guess what? I don't give a fuck. What I care about is systemic racism that hits us hard. So that's a side note. So for the activists, just know you got to get away from that low level. They don't like me. Do you see me? I don't feel like you recognize me. Men don't value the women. Oh my God, he feels like he's anti-transgender. Stop it. Pay attention to the fucking systems. The systems are so real. You guys have no idea. Like when you learn your history and get out of your little myopia, you're going to realize pop culture got you fucked up, because social justice is just a pop culture movement. And pop culture is known for not studying context. Their context relationship sucks. All right, Shabisha, let's get busy.
Doing your best is about the position you find yourself in when you show up.
Now listen, this is so important. Stick with this. I promise you, I'm giving you guys principles now. I'm not giving you no ticky-tack shit. I'm about to upgrade your thinking tremendously. Okay, put it this way. If I didn't upgrade your thinking by the end of the slide, just raise your hands. Be like, they didn't do shit for me. Let's start it again.
Best is about the position you find yourself in when you show up.
Doing your best is about the position you find yourself in when you show up. Go ahead.
Over the long term, the average person who constantly puts themselves in a good position, who constantly puts himself in a good position beats the genius who finds themselves in a poor position.
Wait a minute, say again. So that's so important. I'm about to give you guys some of the deepest business strategy. Like this, literally, you can start making money and improve your business tomorrow. Read this again.
Over the long term, the average person who constantly puts themselves in a good position beats the genius who finds themselves in a poor position.
Go ahead.
What looks like talent is often good positioning.
Uh-oh. What looks like talent is often good positioning. Keep going.
And the best way to put yourself in a good position is with good preparation.
So let me extend the concept around optionality. So I'm gonna give a briefing of optionality. Optionality is the way that you domesticate uncertainty. Tomorrow is uncertain. Next week is uncertain. Next year is uncertain. COVID taught us that, but Christians, you probably heard it every day from your pastors. I think Muslims even probably heard, almost every religion teaches that tomorrow is not promised to you, that you don't control tomorrow. So one of the ways that you domesticate the future of uncertainty is through optionality. So let me tell you this little story about chess, the history of chess. In the past, chess was played, before the 1800s, all chess games was played by using this concept called combinational chess. Now, combinational chess is this. I make a move, Kaja, you make a move. I make a next move, and then I'm gonna try to predict what Kaja's next move is for my next move. Now, in our brain, we would probably be able to predict 2, maybe 3 moves down the road. But because there were so many possible options, often it was just a limitation to that game. Then in the 1800s, some young kid came along, I forgot his name, and he became the master of chess, and he developed this thing called positional chess. And positional chess is when you play chess and you just set the board up to position yourself to either protect yourself, and when you see an opportunity, you can able to take advantage of that opportunity. And if your enemy becomes stronger in their moves, you're in a position at least to protect yourself from their moves. But if your enemy also makes a mistake and becomes vulnerable, you're in a position to take advantage of that opportunity. In business, in life, it is more important for you to think about being positional than being combinational. You say, no, damn, this Shabisha, that ain't gonna mess up your brain cells. Just stay with me. Stay with me. It's like, because Shabisha told me last week, I'm going home. You're fucking about brain cells. I only have 2 left. So I'm gonna try to respect her brain cells. Positional. For example, if you play Texas Hold'em, you know a great hand starts with, if you don't know if you have 2, the game is you have 2 cards and 5 cards laid out in front of you. If you wanted to play a game of Texas Hold'em and be a beast in that game, the trick would be here's a trick. Open up 20 pages, say you're on the internet, you're playing 20 different games of Texas Hold'em. Until you see 2 aces, fold. Once you have 2 aces, you can actually position yourself to play a good game. But if you don't know that, you don't really know when to fold. All right, let me put it in some human language. You ever somebody said, don't burn your bridges? That's positioning. You ever heard somebody say, go out there and work really, really hard so you can actually be exposed to more opportunities? Not because you want to work hard, so you can compound your work to get something from adding 1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cent, 4 cent, but you're out there working, and by you being out in the public working, you increase your opportunities. That's positioning. You remember we tell you to practice and read all the time and grow your principles? It's not because you're trying to play the game from one move to the next move to the next move to the next move to the next move. You're always trying to position yourself in your business to either weather the storm, or when an opportunity opens up, you're in a position to take that opportunity. At all times. At all times. The amount of money you have in your bank, why is it that businesses only spend so low? Because if they spend too low, they ruin their positioning, right? Why is it you say no to certain deals or certain commitments? If I commit too much time to you, that positions me poorly, so if an opportunity happens, I can't take advantage of it. That's why some CEOs, you'll see them like one weekend at a cafe drinking coffee. You're like, why are you drinking coffee? Because he or she understands if I have a full schedule, I can't exploit the opportunities that my business is going to yield me to show up to those opportunities. There's even executive assistants that may be doing their nails or combing their hair or going for a run or going to a class at a junior college. You're like, I thought you was assistant to the CEO. Yeah, he wants me to have free time, so when he does make a decision, I can make that move. He or she understands everything in their life is about positioning. So even when you watch sports, sometimes you guys watch basketball and baseball and football, and say Steph Curry come up down the court and you hit a three-point, yeah, and then everybody jumps up, oh my God, right? Yeah, I'd be like, man, if I was hard, I'd go hit a three on him. And they tell you hard, no, just go hit two. And you're like, wait, what? Just go hit two. And if you watch the game, if you understand positional competition, you'll watch that even though they may not make the most highlighted moves, they might not have a Kyrie Irving, all their players are in double digits, and they position themselves to just score just enough. That was the famous baseball concept, which was when they was running the number game on baseball and they started using data on baseball. And they realized, no, we don't need Hank Aaron to hit every home run every time he steps up. We just need you to hit a single. You just bunt every time. You know what? You can't swing. You just walk. We just know. And as long as you run this, once we do the math, because the way we position ourselves, we beat the team with all the superstars. A lot of times you can't beat other folks is because you're poorly positioned. You think because you got a degree, you're brilliant. But as soon as you come out of school, you start to give up your positioning on everything you're doing. Your positioning matters. How you shape your life, how you shape your business, how you shape your decisions, how you shape your relationships. Let's say you're talking to somebody, and let's say Kaja went home and made me a cake, because you know Kaja makes some good cakes. And let's say the cake wasn't that good this time, right? But I know she makes good cakes. I'm not going to say, Kaja, that last cake was trash. I ruined my position. I was like, hey, Kaja, thank you so much. I appreciate it. In my head, I'm thinking, unless she develops a pattern, I'm not going to bring it to her attention. Because I need to keep that relationship wide open. So one day I need to call Kaja. Hey, Kaja, I need a cake for my daughter's birthday tomorrow because this place couldn't make a cake. Can you make me a cake? For you, not anything. I am positioning in all my relationships with everybody. I'm positioning. I am not in a position where some of you guys are so transactional in the way you guys are moving, and you're trying to go from here to here to here to here to here. That's combinational. You think if I do this, I do that, 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 right? But what you forget is that the future doesn't promise you these steps. One day you'll put your foot down, the step doesn't exist. Remember I said last week it's more important to survive than to achieve success? I was teaching positioning. As long as you survive and you're in a position to be around, you have an opportunity to make that chance of growth. Because sometimes you're going to have to fight off and weather a storm. But if you always, where a lot of people become successful and lose all their money is because they keep chasing opportunities and they don't position themselves well. And when something happens, a storm hits them, they're not in a position to go, boom, we took that hit, but we're going to be all right. We're going to get through this. Don't mean you like it, but that's what life is. And as a whole, is it doesn't guarantee each step is going to work. It doesn't guarantee that, look at, if the bank would have failed in San Jose, and in Silicon Valley and took those people's money, SVB, those who are not positioned well are done. They're dead in the water. But they were talking about Giannis, who plays for Milwaukee Bucks. As soon as he got his first check, he split it between numerous banks. Why he split it between numerous banks? Because there's a $250,000 guarantee in all these banks. And he said, if these banks go down, I'm guaranteed by the United States government. Now, if the United States government go down, I don't know what else to tell you. But the reality is that positioning, you think about positioning with your money, you think about positioning with your family, your friends, you think about positioning with your relationships. But if your business is poorly positioned, pay attention to everything in your business. Is it positioned that if something goes down, you could take advantage of, you can protect yourself for one. Insurance is positioning. Something hit you because maybe you find out later on one of your employees took the company car and was doing donuts, hit a kid. I know she said, come on now, stop being so gruesome, right? But the reality is this, but if he hits the kid, the kid dies, he hits the kid, right? Because most kids get hit on this, anyway. So are you positioned to weather that storm? Go home and look at your positioning. Even if you own your own house, what's your positioning game about? Not, I got money coming in, I pour money into my business. Don't worry, I can always make some money. If you ever hear somebody say, I'm gonna always survive, it's because they become really good at positioning. If you don't understand positioning, you'll always feel like you're just one check away from going down. Once you understand positioning, you're always building up, you're always setting yourself up in positions. So if something fails in your life, you have a plan B, C, D. You designed your whole life around positioning. You guys get that? When you move through life, in chess, like when you play in positional chess, chess is finite. Life is infinite. And because life is infinite, it's another version of optionality positioning. Because what you're doing is you're making your life full of options. I just taught you a strategy on how to produce optionality, which is called positioning. This is why a lot of people who perform higher than other people, they're masters at positioning. Look at Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy's not the most talented person you've ever seen. He's not. He's well positioned. There's certain people that when they move in this world, they know how to position themselves, how to build certain relationships, how to be in the right places, how to connect to certain things. Where should you be, when, where, why, and how? How do you position yourself in every conversation with people? How you position? Let's say, Kaja, let's say me and you hung out every day. And I know a lot about business. That's what I do. Practice a lot. Doesn't mean I'm a master, but I just practice a lot. But let's say one day I say, Kaja, let me give you some advice about your business. You're like, no, I'm good. I don't need no advice. I know what I'm doing. Poor positioning. You know why? Because when I see something, I'm never going to say anything to her. She positioned herself out of support because guess what? Well, fuck it, you know. As a business owner, I'm always say, well, what do you know? Tell me something. What do you see? Here's the thing that me and Shakira practice. When you say something to me I don't agree with, I take the good and leave the bad behind. And the bad gets tabled for another day. Why? Because once again, in position, when I work with my mentor, I watch him mentor a lot of guys who he stopped mentoring because they poorly position themselves. I asked my son is staying a roommate with his cousin. So I asked my son, I said, so since you moved in, how many times have you cleaned up the house? Like how often does he come home and go, damn, dude, the house looks amazing. He goes, never done that. I said, oh, ticking time bomb. He said, what? I said, you're on a ticking time bomb. What do you mean? It's just a matter of time before he kicks you out. You're positioning yourself horribly. But if he came home every day, you're not paying enough rent, so you're already in a loss. And you position yourself like you deserve to be there. Where if you came home every day and he's like, whoa, this is hella tight. Guess what? Now he's looking at you as a plus. You gave him an opportunity to reframe it. That was his responsibility. So I told him, I say, go home and reposition your relationship. Otherwise, he's going to put you out. He didn't. And he's putting him out. I'm not exaggerating. Positioning. All this stuff is about positioning. Business is about positioning. Business, how do you design your business for opportunities and spaces and possibilities that you can take advantage of? How do you grow so let's say you're island. Business is cool. There's no stress. How do you sit there when you're there with your team and you got downtime? Do you use that downtime to say, hey, you know what, y'all tired? Go home and get some rest. Or do you say, hey, guys, let's retrain for other possibilities to give ourselves positions? You see where I'm going with this? Coldest shit ever. Positioning. Next slide. Any questions on that one? Anybody, any confusion? Everybody get it? Huh? Go ahead, Scott. Oh, give him a microphone.
I just want to ask a simple question. When you're talking about positioning, God, I can't even talk. I was thinking about it like the analogy of like positioning is like the branches, and then optionality would be the leaves. So it's like the foundation of optionality. Like if you are putting yourself in a lot of different positions, then you're multiplying your optionality. Is that how you think about it? Is that
Yeah. Because like, okay, for example, this new generation, you know, my family was the adults of Vietnam. So I came in and I was adults of, you got to fill out paperwork for a draft. This new generation didn't do any of that, right? So one of the things my parents told me is save for rainy days. That's positioning, right? Where you see people buying, like literally their paycheck is like bouncing on the bottom. And every once in a while it gets a surge and they'll just bounce it down, right? And when you get $5,000 in your account, it's abstract, right? But if you understand positioning, you might not even be at your base yet. Because you realize I need to have this much money to give me just that much more options to take advantage of things I want to take care of. To get to 2,000, I'm giving up all my optionality, and now I'm a servant. I'm a slave to the game. Once you position yourself, you have choices at all times in the game. So now when whatever happens, you can go left, right. You don't like it, I'm going to go left. But once you let that positioning drop, I'm talking about from everything you're doing, you're literally forcing yourself to follow, which our next slide, rules that don't work in your interest. Right? So it's another way of advancing optionality is you're always positioning. Go ahead. Pass the microphone. Oh, we missed Jasadi, boy. It was just be, oh, there you go. They're going right there. Yeah. Tell Jasadi, no matter how chubby he is, we miss him. Go ahead. He can't whoop me. Got him! Go ahead.
I was just thinking of those movies where the guy wants the girl and he's always in the best position. He's showing up at the coffee shop. Hey, do you drink coffee too? Puts himself in this position, to save her life at one point. And he's just kind of focused on the situation and where's the best play to put him in the best position to get the girl. That's what I kind of.
It's the same rules. It's the same rules. Positioning starts before you even get the girl, before you think about the girl. I told Shakira, she's like, man, you do really good at this father stuff. I say, yeah, because I started being a father at 18. I didn't have no kids, but I started positioning myself to be the father at 18. So when it came time to be the father, oh, I hate him so much right now. He did not play Shaft on me, but right on. but I positioned myself. All the things that I am today, I started positioning before I became those things. Because it's hard to do all those same things when your life doesn't even support that. Like if you say being in the right places, the right time, doing the right kind of things with you, well, it also has to be my MO because I can't maintain it if it ain't the way I get down. So positioning is really constant identifying where you want to go. And then how do you position yourself best to either protect yourself when things that don't go your way? I mean, with a girl that says, no, I'm good. Have you positioned yourself so well that you have choices of women you can go out with, right? Or do you position, because if you just only have one woman going out with, that's not a good optionality. That's like, that's good story in movies, but in the real world, I can't say because I like you, you're going to like me. Otherwise, now we get into some old sexist Me Too type of shit. I'm going to be the picture on everybody's button, right? So at the end of the day, it's as a person, how do you position yourself also to, for example, a rock star is often positioned really, really well with women. Because quite often, women may be, and this is going to be a fucked up optionality, they may choose the husband who's conservative to feel good and have structure, but choose a rock star for adventure, which is crazy shit, ain't it? That's some crazy shit. Yeah, but anyway, so positioning is everything. It's like, you know, you want to have. If a man wants to have a wife, what is your finance position for so you can be participating in that house to have options? Or do you find yourself not contributing and now you're talking about what's wrong with her? It's not her. You had a horrible positioning. Positioning is everything. Business, I promise you in business, when you sit down and make decisions in business every day, most of your decisions are around positioning. Because you can't say tomorrow it's going to happen. So you just position yourself for possibilities of whatever tomorrow could be. But you can't say, well, you know, like for example, you might say, well, let's set our business up like this, or let's show up like this tomorrow. Let's do this marketing campaign like this. What is all this marketing? What is all this movement? What is all these relationships? What is all these going to these certain events? What is all this giving certain phone calls? What are these conversations? What is these thank yous? What is this services about? It's all positioning. You position yourself with your customers. That's what the great service is about. I'm going to outposition myself with you over the same person as the competition to my business. Because the customer doesn't have infinite money. They have finite money. So how do you best position yourself with the customers where you're the first, always the most likely choice?
2 questions from online. First one is, can over-serving your clients be a form of positioning for future work with them?
Is it over?
Mm-hmm. Can over-serving your clients be a form of positioning for future work with them?
I don't know if the word over. Okay, so there's the word over makes it a non-strategy. That's a space of strategy actually. So when I'm positioning, I'm making a calculated move. Let's say you went over and okay, I'm gonna keep it hood because I'm from East Oakland. Say a cat comes in, I know he ain't got no motherfucking money. He wants to do a flyer, and he has me doing a $10,000 flyer, and he's at a $400 pocket. That's horrible strategy. Economically don't make sense, right? Positioning is when I sit down and go, hey, where's the value at in this conversation? Now, don't get me wrong. I treat people beneath me and above me of both of great value. But I also understand the return, the possibilities of my investment, right? Or, don't get me wrong, if my heart feels good and I want to give to you, that's one thing. But positioning is really more or less setting yourself up to take advantage of possible opportunities, not over-serving. So if I'm over-serving you, guess what's going to happen? I can't service the other customer. I can't service this customer, right? So positioning says I can reach and extend my service, but not to the point that I compromise my service with this other person. That's good positioning. Bad positioning is that I do whatever I want to do for you. That's bad positioning. So I'm always positioning in my business what makes sense. Let's say we're slow, nothing's happening at 5T Media. You say, Nana, can you do a website for my company? We got a budget of $3,000. We're slow, and I say, no, I can't. You're like, Nana, if I go say no to $3,000, you didn't make no money this week. Because if a job comes in on Friday, I'm fucked because you just clogged the system. I don't want to have to move around this $3,000 job for a $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $100, $200,000 job. So I have to be able to say no, because in order for me to make my business show up to you with maximal service, I can't clog it with a whole bunch of small jobs that have no value to me. So you have to know how to. So all money's not good money. The way you control that decision is positioning.
And the second question is: so is positioning the same as having several revenue streams?
That is a form of positioning, but it's not. That's not just all that. It's not that. That's a hood famous saying. I'm from the hood, so I know all my famous sayings. I came up through all of them, right? All of them. I trust me. You gotta have multiple revenue streams. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be real out in this motherfucker. You know all these haters. Okay, no. Positioning is if you have multiple revenue streams. Okay, because you can have multiple revenue streams and it takes you out of position. The goal is to protect yourself if something uncertain happens, and to take advantage of and to be able to grow if something uncertain happens. meaning that you always have the ability to make a move to protect yourself and grow because you position yourself to weather the storm. A house that has made of brick with an underground layer with food and supplies is positioning. A house with just bricks is not necessarily, it's a light form of positioning. Positioning is designing your life where when you see an opportunity also, like say something happens. So for example, you have the multiple streams, but you can pull from those streams, you can move money around. But if those streams locking you in, it's tying up resources and they tied up in these streams, or they eat up all your time and now you spread so thin, when a real opportunity lands on your table, you don't even see it. You're badly positioned. Because your brain wants to believe, okay, write this down. You learn backwards, but you move forward. You learn backwards and you move forward, which gives you a false sense that moving forward is just as predictable as looking backwards. It's not. It's unpredictable. And if you bring a business in an unpredictable space, you have to learn how to domesticate uncertainty. Stop trying to use looking back as a way to move forward. You get where I'm going with this? So the reality is that it's not, positioning is saying, hey, I don't know what the future's going to be, but I got to, like, for example, if my savings fall beneath a certain number, you do layoffs. You don't do layoffs when you're missing bill payments. And you may even do layoffs if you feel a rhythm coming where the numbers are starting to shift really, really fast, but your numbers are still good. You still do layoffs. You say, why do you still do layoffs? Because you give the people the opportunity to go find another job before the storm lands. You see that positioning? Positioning is, I'm positioning your job as employees. I'm positioning employees on my team. If I have an office full of people, I'm thinking about positioning. How do I set these people up where I can keep them flexible enough to say, hey, everybody, let's run over here tomorrow. But if I maximize their workload, I have no flexibility in my team because they're overloaded in work. So I got to learn to balance the workload so I can have more choices to be more creative as a company and be able to weather the storm of the unpredictable unknown. Positioning. I don't think y'all understand how much game this is. This is what I do every day. I focus on positioning. As a captain of the ship, I go, how do I position? How do I position? How do I position? Mashama works on combinational management. Okay, we got to do this, got to do that, got to do this, got to do that, got to do this, got to do that, right? And sometimes I call them up and go, hey, that's poor positioning. You ruin our position. If this happens, I'm fucked. Right? This is how you, otherwise, being an entrepreneur is like the lottery then. If you don't say position, it's just a lottery. You make a lot of money and then when are you going to fall? That's it. In a conversation. That's it. Positioning says, I will make a lot of money. That's why if you watch like a lot of .com guys is up there, they don't always have money. They understand the game of positioning. They're always positioning themselves. So even if that company falls, they have relationships. They've built trust, relationships, how they show up to people, how they perform, how they volunteer, how they invest in certain things. So when things happen, they're like, oh, just come over here and work with us. And they're good. They position well. But those of you who go to work every day, sit at your cubicle, type on your documents, go home. I don't be fucking with none of these people. I'm here trying to get mine. You're poorly positioned. If they fire you, you have nothing.
Fatality.
Let's get to this next one. No, go back. Rules. We're still on rules. I ain't hit the rules yet. So, living in the black community, I've been watching this new trend that's happening amongst white people, black people, my Latino brothers and sisters, my Asian brothers and sisters. By the way, did you know that the first blacks of Oakland that got over-imprisoned, highly abused, highly disrespected, was considered why Oakland had the highest level of crime was the Chinese community. In the late 1800s, they were demonized the hardest. And they would just say, the reason Oakland Chinatown never got big is because Oakland mayor said, they're such disgusting people. We don't want, this is openly stated, they're such disgusting people. We don't want them to expand past a certain point. So we will restrain, and matter of fact, they work with them, the police, at some point the KKK, to keep the Chinese community from growing past a certain point. So a lot of times, we always talk about, we're the most oppressed. But Chinese, if you go back at one point, labor union, Irish, Portuguese, Greek, Italians, Jews, and then the last group to take the hardest hit has been Black and Latinos. And yet, when you look at social justice, they just, so much shit is missed. Anyway, okay, rules. That is the separation between poor folks and rich folks. If you ever have rich friends and poor friends, poor folks are screaming, fuck the rules, and rich people love rules. What is family? Rules. What is culture? Rules. What is success? Rules. What is happiness? Rules. What is freedom? Gotta follow rules. What is long life? Rules. What is health? Rules. What are relationships and partnerships in business? Rules. What is having a large group of customers? Rules. What is mental health? Your mental health. Rules. Somehow in our community, because we listen, like I was talking to my son the other day, I say, you know what's funny? A rock and roll or hip hop singer will come along and be like, fuck the rules. We want to be free. But they don't tell you that the only reason they're a rock and roll star is because they follow all the goddamn rules. Hang out one day with any famous rock and roll star, you'd be like, God damn, there's so many rules around you. The higher the stakes, the more the rules. So I visited my friend in Danville. I don't think there was lint on the street. It was so clean. Them streets were so motherfucking clean. I think we could have just put a sandwich on a sidewalk and just ate from there, right? People were cycling. I was like, man, they cycling close to traffic. He goes, people don't drive like that up here. His kid said, Dad, I want to go outside, because he used to live up near Park Street around the lake, right behind the old Baskin Robbins next to old Trader Joe's. Back there, there's a famous street. He used to live off that street. And his son said, Dad, I want to go outside. He just looked at him and said, well, go outside. He said, but you don't need to come with me. He goes, we don't do that up here, bro. Go outside. Go ride your bike. When you ready to come back home, just come back home. What? Anybody from East Oakland or anywhere pretty much in Oakland now would not tell the kid go for a bike ride at the age of 7, 8, or 9, and I see you when you get back home. Well, what happened? We've been saying fuck the rules for too long. And part of that is because many of us have been abused by rules. Let's not get it twisted. Whether it was slavery and Jim Crow, whether it was police suppression that came from shit since who knows how long. Long story. Anyway, you had a job where you had to follow these rules when you were young and feel like, oh my God, this shit is horrible. When you go home, anything you say you believe in, ask yourself, what's the rules? Why are rules important? It's another form of optionality. Make it simple. Let's say I told you, hey, Kaja, every time you get a check of your check, put away 20%. When you put away that 20%, does it make any sense? It won't feel like it makes any sense. Afterwards, I feel like, what if something happens where somebody says, yo, I can sell you this Corvette for almost $30,000 that's worth $75,000. Just give me your 30 grand. If you don't have a rule, you're going to spend that 30 grand. But guess what you're going to lose? Optionality. What if the next week that 30 grand was a possibility for investment that could have made you millions? As human beings, we don't have emotional, rules don't always feel good. Parents, you have a child. A rule comes up that you know you don't break, But you want to go to the club, or you want to chill, or you don't, fuck it, I'm tired. I just worked all damn day. You follow that rule, guess what happens? You don't want to do it. You don't even like it. But the rule is that with children or with business or anything, they're long-term investments that they're small contributions that add up over time, right? You ever worked out before and you didn't stay consistent at the gym? Because you know what? I just like, today I'm tired. I'm going to go tomorrow and then go and maybe skip 2 more days and I go this day. Then I go home and I eat what I want to eat. But then next week I'm going to be on my diet. And in 6 months from now, you're probably bigger or it's the same. Why do you have the rules? Everything you want in life comes with rules. But you don't do good with rules when you demonize rules as a tool of oppression. Reframe rules as, here's the thing. Remember I said, I forgot what I said. I said that, I forgot that this is a phrase I used earlier about, I think it was about money, but the thing is that either you control the rules or rules will control you. If you control your own rules, life feels like you're playing around. If you don't have rules, life will control you by its own rules it will suppress you by. You will follow rules. Don't think you're going to escape rules. Like one thing my son moved out at 16. He ain't going to make it. So he moved out at 16. I think he's going to die, but he's going to probably be home sometime. He goes, there's too many rules in this house. So, okay. So Shakira said, you sure you don't want to stay? Nah, I'm going to stay with my cousin. Okay. Because over his cousin's house, rules start piling up because now he has to work for some money to get paid. Now he has to do this. His cousin has all these rules to be in his house. All these rules on, like since he don't have a car to pick him up, now he has to get up earlier. So he has to do all these rules start. So he comes back over and I say, hey, if you had a spreadsheet, you have more rules now or before? I have more rules now. Exactly. I said the reason you didn't have the same amount of freedom in our house because you didn't have rules to self-impose on yourself, which would have gave you freedom to have the freedom you want. Because freedom requires rules. But because you had no rules around the house, we impose rules on you, which is such as life. But if you had your own rules, which is, I'm always knock my grades out, I'm always take care of this, I'm always keep this room clean, I'm gonna do these basic things. If you say, hey mom, this Saturday I'm gonna be hanging out with my friends at this space, well, rules would have built a relationship of trust. Because he had no rules, he gets victimized by rules of society. Do you know that homeless people often cannot stop from being homeless because it eats up all their time to survive being homeless? They work so motherfucking hard because they can't sleep like you sleep. They don't have no place to store their shit. Every day they have to go work out every day just to survive. They work so many hours, they don't have time to explore other options. Meaning that you let go all these other rules to be imprisoned by the rules of just basic survival. Nobody escapes the rules, people. Nobody does. But the oppressed are victim to rules because they don't set rules. If you look at a poor family that has, like say a poor family that raise kids that have rules. If you think about any kid you ever know that came out of the hood and pushed itself up, one thing you might say is my mother had these rules, my dad had these rules. Go to the household where the kids don't perform well. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the times, the rules are negotiable. Depends on how mama feel that day. If she tired, the rules are on. She ain't tired, well, fuck the rules. This rule game is your power, but you have to own them before they own you. It's just that simple. If you're running your company, how do you get 30 people to sit in the fucking room without killing each other? Rules. That's part of it. I'm not saying it's all, but it's a major part of it. If you build anything, you got to get comfortable with rules to a point that rules, you see rules as a gift to you, not taking something away from you. And in our community and in music and hip hop and everything, oh, fuck the rules. I don't believe in these rules. I don't like these rules. Oh, hell with these rules. Why is there rules? You know what? No rules, no gender, no nothing. That's cute. And to the first, like, okay, so for example, they were saying that this recession is about to hit. They were saying it's because the recession is going to hit, employees are going to lose all their power. Because all of a sudden, that employee who's get on Facebook and say, Facebook ain't shit, they don't say, hey, man, you might want to shut that up because when they let go at 10,000, I think they might choose you. So guess what he's going to say? Oh, okay. And if jobs get scarce, watch all of a sudden that same person realize, oh shit. Well, a lot of rules that help you get through hard times and good times. But when you're in good times, you'll forget the rules of hard times. And when the hard times coming, you go down with everybody else. The way you survive bad times is you have rules when there's good times that protect you for your hard times, which is positioning and optionality. Rules. All three. Go ahead, Shamisha.
Online said, reframe rules. That's some solid ass shit. I feel like that's firm. I do. I just, something tells me that's firm.
Like this rule game is, I promise you, we're all running around to, man, fuck the, we walk down the street with, the hood says, I want to live a better place. But the hood is example of everybody breaking the fucking rules. If there's certain places, I think in Japan, and there's certain cities in the United States where on Saturdays or Sundays, everybody gets up and go clean outside. And then all the kids and all the adults know these are the rules. And then we all benefit from us following the rules. Rules don't benefit just you. Sometimes your sacrifice is for the greater whole of everybody. So that Saturday morning when you have to get up and go clean with everybody else, you don't want to go fucking clean with everybody else. I want to go out there and go, I want to go lay in the sun and drink a Mai Tai. But the rules say, no, this is how we get down. That's what an HOA is. You move into this beautiful neighborhood and they say, here's the rules of buying a house in this neighborhood to protect everybody's interests. Because I don't know if you ever lived in an apartment when you were younger, or young people, you live in an apartment now. If everybody plays their music when they want to play their music, as loud as they want, nobody sleeps. The way we all get good sleep is we have rules of how we get down. That means that some days my favorite song come on, I have to be like, oh, where are my headphones? I'm inconvenienced. But I need you to be inconvenienced, but I need my sleep too. See, we got to share this space together. And this rule thing is, the hood is a space where we are saying, fuck the rules, and then we all don't want to live there. We're having black flight every fucking day. The best minds in our community are leaving the community because it's ruleless. My son can't go to the store and get some juice while somebody breaking the rules on my child. I don't want to be here. Like paint, motherfucker. If you got red bottles, you could have purchased white paint. Paint your motherfucking house. Follow the rules. But instead, fuck the rules, and you know what? If you don't do it, I ain't gonna do it, and I don't give a shit. And you know what? Man ain't gonna tell me what to do. I'm finished eating my food. I'm throwing the trash outside my car. Then you drive down the street, and all you see is trash everywhere, which primes the brain, we're not valuable. And then you wonder why you spend your money like you're not valuable, because you prime yourself because nobody follows the fucking rules. Rules help you become the best version of yourself. That's it. And you got to adjust those rules accordingly. There's no such thing as you don't read a rule book. Like, where's the rule book on being a black man in America? Motherfucker, none. You got to learn how to adjust the rules based upon your culture, your beliefs, where you position yourself, what you want. There's a whole bunch of different variables that shape your rules. And then with that rule, like Court said earlier, if it doesn't work, then change the rules. But when you change the rules, understand how important that change is. That rules are not meant to just be stood on or stepped over or devalued or shrunk. Rules are critical to the outcome you want in your life. If you're constantly saying fuck the rules, it's a reflection of where you at, not the life around you. When you were born, this world never was designed to bend to you. You were designed to survive within it. And all the shit that's been here, whether it's from racism to climate change to motherfucking volcanoes, it's your job to figure out how to survive that. The world don't bend to you, baby. Sorry. It's rules. And then break them. Here's the thing. When you break those rules, this person's going to fuck you up. A lot of times human beings forget what we do causes our problems, but what we did 6 months ago caused the problem we're having today. What we did 10 years ago is causing the problem we had today. Rules is a tool, an act of faith that allows you to prevent problems for the future that you can't see coming. But when you have no rules, your life feels like you're just constantly in reaction, putting out fires, out of control. Now you're somewhat depressed, you're stressed out. Because guess why you're so stressed out and you're out of control, your life has no structure, and you can't feel like you feel like you're just turning upside down. It's like shit's always happening to you. You don't have no rules. When you have rules, you start cutting shit off before they even grow. Next slide, please.
Fern said that wasn't her saying solid ass shit.
Huh?
Fern said that wasn't her.
Well, you know, anytime somebody says some pimp shit, you be thinking it's Fern. So we're going to start the intro. I'm starting this intro to this book a little different than usual, to the Great Mental Models. This is a book. So this is one of the books on our reading list. Pick it up. Let's read the first chapter. I think first chapter, read up to first principle thinking. But I'm just going to do the introduction as this first part of this class. And because it's such a dope-ass introduction, it might take 2 classes to go through this introduction. So next slide. You might have to change the slide on the laptop. Okay. Shabisha?
In life and business, the person with the fewest blind spots
Hit the arrow at the
wins.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
In life and business, the person with the fewest blind spots wins.
Mm-hmm.
Removing blind spots means we see, interact with, and move closer to understanding reality.
Mm-hmm.
We think better. And thinking better is about finding simple processes that help us work through problems from multiple dimensions and perspectives, allowing us to better choose solutions that fit what matters to us. The skill for finding the right solutions for the right problems is one form of wisdom.
So isn't that funny how, Core talked about triangular, looking at something from multiple angles? But in order for you to look at things from multiple angles, let's say you grab your phone and you look at multiple angles, but you don't know what the angles mean. You just look at the phone. you're like, I'm looking at this phone from multiple angles, but you only work with one principle. 2, here's one of my greatest fears for this new generation of people. So I was fortunate to grow up at a time where if there was a black person on television, we would all run home and go watch TV. So we'd be like, yo, hey, Good Times coming on. And I might be like, I don't know, 7. And we all run home to go watch Good Times. And we knew it wasn't real because it was just one show, and TV was kind of really framed as not being real. But in this new generation, I think between social media, which is full of lies and make-believe reality, television, pop culture, and people avoiding reality because it's just too painful, because they live a life of should. The world should be this way. And when it's not that way, they kind of make a make-believe story of the way it should be, the way it is for them. Every time you disconnect from reality, you create more blind spots. Your intent means nothing. If you're full of blind spots, your intent means nothing. Your hard work means nothing. You being a good person means nothing. God existing in this world means nothing to you because you can't even take advantage of it because you're disconnected from the world you live in. Now, you might say, well, Nana, I'm connected to reality. Look, connected to reality is not as easy as you think, because many of us start disconnecting before we even knew there was a thing. And if you listen to most people in most cultures, a lot of cultural beliefs are based upon things that have nothing to do with reality. When you have ideas shaped within a myopia, meaning that the day I was born, reality started, and the day I die is when reality ends. You have no context of a lot of stuff. So you'll take the most popular opinion and you'll grab hold of that popular opinion. But every time you grab hold to a popular opinion, you may be grabbing hold to something that's not connected to reality. Now you might say, no, are you preaching to us about politics and activism? No. Because when it comes time to run a business, running a business is not about having a formula or doing that recipe or that golden nugget. It's about making thousands of decisions that are unique to you. And the more you disconnect from reality, your decisions are just disconnected from those moments and those spaces. Even your thinking, your analysis, when you're doing your introspection and you're analyzing things, you're like, oh, okay, what would I do? What happened there? What's going on? How do I feel about that? The more you disconnect from reality, your thinking is trash. I'm just gonna say it easy. I can't make you soft motherfuckers feel any better. But you know what, Judge Joe Brown, which is he's an old wolf, right? That's an old wolf. If you ever get a chance to listen to Judge Joe, that's one of my favorite people to listen to because he's like an old wolf. I agree with like 85% of things he say. And he says, he's talking about a group of men, and he's talking like old Nana. Well, that's this way I talk at home. He says, yeah, you know, these men who were never trained to be a man, never socialized to take on the responsibility of being a man, these soft-ass men want to make freedom safe. Freedom will never be safe. Is that powerful? Freedom will never be safe. Some of y'all are so delicate, you can't even touch the ground because you're scared. You're fragile. Nassim Taleb said that anti-fragile is more powerful than being intelligent. But what is anti-fragile? Seeing reality for what it is and accepting for what it is, and then learning to work within it to achieve what you want to achieve. Not tell yourself it should. When you see these commentators and people arguing back and forth on, TV, YouTube, internet, social media about you're right, you're wrong, you're right, they're both arguing what it should be. They're not sitting down. I don't need to like you, agree with you, or disagree with you to try to understand your reality. But when you're saying should, you know what you are? You're just a projector. That means you walk around projecting reality as opposed to absorbing reality. You know what that means? You project. That means you're empty. So when it comes time to make a decision, you have no material to work with to make a strong decision. You got to spend more time analyzing and stop projecting. If somebody says something you don't like, I wonder why they feel that way. When Trump was president, I used that whole time. Hey, where was he coming from? What was his motivation? And some things I end up agreeing with. I was like, I kind of agree with that one. Because I learned both sides. But if I stood with like the typical liberal, here goes motherfucking Trump. Oh my God, I hate Trump. I would learn nothing. That whole world of what should be, and you running around all the time being self-righteous, looking to be the famous person at the party, arguing what should be, you're making yourself empty because you're not putting anything in. So, grounding yourself. We all have blind spots. I'm not gonna beat that. But Quarters covered this to death. Go to the next slide. Next one. Go back. Did you just get one? There you go, right there. Is that the right next one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Mental models describe the way the world works. They shape how we think, how we understand, and how we form beliefs.
Pause. So what you're about to learn for the next 3 or 4 months, or maybe 5 or 6 months, is a whole bunch of mental models. I can promise you, this is the difference between a worker's consciousness and a worker's consciousness and a builder's consciousness. Workers have different models than builders. You're going to learn new models that's going to change. It's going to disrupt a lot of things you believe in. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable. But these models and these principles you're going to use over. I'm talking about over. You're never going to stop using them. And you're going to find that once you learn these models and you learn to bake these models into the way you think, you're going to find a separation between the way most people think and the way you think. And you're going to realize that that's why most people can't be entrepreneurs. They're trying to make workforce models, mental models, work in a entrepreneur, builder, leadership mental model world. And so these models you're going to learn moving forward are going to ground you. They're going to make you uncomfortable, but they're going to go against a lot of your belief systems, because a lot of your belief systems come from being part or lineages of working people, or being part of a culture that comes from a working culture. And some of you have taken, you guys have drank the wine because your friends and family says, oh man, you gonna make it. You special. You the most likely person to be successful. You've heard all the praises and you think you're special, but you're still the same because you haven't changed your mental models. You guys get that? Keep going. No, we didn't finish that. We didn't finish. Josh, I'm gonna break your leg. We didn't finish that slide.
Largely subconscious, mental models operate below the surface.
Pause. A lot of our mental models, we have a lot of mental models that come from our poverty, our culture, our hood, our oppression as a group. Some of them are baked in for like centuries. Most of them are not even available to you. They're not even available to you. Meaning your everyday thinking, you don't even pay attention to it. It's invisible to you. Mental models are these, it's almost like the foundation of all your thoughts that's driving the output of everything you're thinking, but they're so deeply rooted that if I get close to your mental model, you will think that I'm betraying you or I'm taking it away from your foundation, or you will think that that's impossible. Your mental models drive everything. That's why many of your lives are so predictable. Like somebody could have came to you and they learned your mental models and you would have thought there was a guru that can read the future. No, because they just know how you're going to show up to certain situations. You'll also be able to read people's outcome. I mean, you can have a lot of good effort. You can even get to the top. You just can't stay up to the top because you don't have the mental models to stay up there. Why do you think, how the hell do you think white people can be this successful amongst us for this long and black folks ain't caught up? It ain't because otherwise you have to accept that they're made from God or they made a deal with the devil and that's why we can't catch them. Or they have a different group of model of thought that we don't have. And the one that we inherited served us well for our role in society. But where we want to go, it won't serve us. By the way, Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the surface level of that story, the reason Elijah Muhammad let go of Malcolm X, because Malcolm X distorted his positioning. Think about this. You go out there, I need to have a certain amount of mobility to make certain moves. You bring all that attention to me and you insult this group of people who have more resources and more power. You're taking my flexibility, because as a small person, your strength is your flexibility when you're small. Because you get bigger, you lose that, right? So I can move, I can go through communities, they don't even see me. I can build this whole, by the time they see us, we at a certain level of growth, we're making money move a certain kind of way. Once you pull that interest, you made us the focus point of this battle. I don't need you disrespecting them like that. It doesn't mean that I love them or I want to be friends with them. But I need to make moves, bruh. I don't want to be spending all my energy and all of our resources fighting them, which destroys us. I got to make these moves. So I feel, you see why Malcolm X was being combinational. You know, this for that, this, that, this. You say this to me, I'll say this back to you. You want to be honest with you? This is what you said to me. Positioning says, shut the fuck up. Let it go. Take this loss. Conscience says, you ain't shit. But I know that's a position I need to have. I'm going to shut the fuck up. In my head, I'm thinking, fuck you, I'll beat your ass. But you know what? Smile. You know why? Because I can't fuck up this position I need to make. Because at the end of the day, Kasha can't hurt me. She ain't molesting me. She ain't raping my body. I can go home and she's not going to be in my kitchen. No, she be in my bank account. If I tell her fuck off, only thing I did is serve this emotional need, but I lost a position. Bring it back to modern. So they're beneath the surface. They're not something you can actually feel. Don't think for 5 minutes, oh, I know my own mental models. Most of us don't. Keep read that sentence.
We're not generally aware of them, and yet they're the reason when we look at a problem, we consider some factors relevant and others irrelevant.
Meaning that when you're outside in public, if you have the wrong mental models, you don't even know to listen to the right sounds in the world to gain what you need to gain. You're walking over a lot of relevant moments and you're dismissing a lot of relevant moments because you have the wrong mental models. So your poverty is not because the white man is holding you back. Your poverty is because you don't know that's relevant. Isn't that cold? What you think is relevant And so go back to what I talked about rules. Kid tells the rock stars like, fuck the rules. Be like, yeah, that's a cool ass song. Fuck the rules. Because his mental model says, I want to be from underneath my parents' thumb. And I want to be free. But she doesn't know what freedom is because they never own freedom. Freedom's a group of responsibilities that has ridiculous amount of rules, right? So she can't hear when an artist is saying fuck the rules. It's make believe and it's just a cool song to make you feel good in the moment. But don't you say fuck the rules. But you take that same song to Japan and say to those group of kids, fuck the rules, and they say, oh, that was a good song, but we're about to go home and follow the rules. See the difference? Your mental models will shape the way that song sounds to you and what you do from the outcome of that music. Keep going.
They are how we infer causality, match patterns, and draw analogies. They are how we think and reason.
How we reason. So go back to what Court said. I'm looking at my phone. I'm turning it around, looking at different angles. But if my mental models are weak, all I see is a phone at different angles. I don't know what the angles mean. I don't understand the relevance to the surroundings. I don't understand how it's going to translate into the real world. All I know is I'm turning the phone. I'm at home tomorrow. Well, now the Court said turn the phone around. Oh, God. I turned it about 55 times. And told you my baby, I'm still broke. She ain't something. I guess that shit didn't make no sense. It's not that it didn't make any sense. Your mental models are weak. So in order for you to even to extract some of the benefits of tinkering, mental models knows what's relevant, what's irrelevant, where the patterns are relevant. Okay, so let me show you another trick with rules. Say you heard me talk about rules, and then you went home and went military dad. You fucking up. So why am I fucking up? You said rules is important. Because you don't have mental models. If you have mental models tell you where to start and where to stop and what's the tipping point. Because military has rules because they have higher stakes. Life, death, baby. Country can be Russia tomorrow. Let's not fuck around. Right? But if you don't know that with having rules, how those rules have to exist in the real world, the mental models helps you balance those ideas or rules. Otherwise, you could use the rules to cause self-destruction.
So the question that's coming up for me is, if you only have one model, here's the way I would think about it. I grow up how I grow up. I come through what I've come through. That's my map. That's my model. That's what I understand. The way that, so then the play then is to learn more models.
Absolutely. What we've been learning our whole life is recipes. We went to school and learned, and school has some models built into it, but often they're not highlighted. You don't want to hear another funny model? School always articulates what it does for you, never articulates what it doesn't do for you. Isn't that the craziest thing ever? The school never articulates that. They always tell to you what school is good for you. They'll never show you where school is bad for you. Because there's a part of school that's bad for you, right? But mental models is like, you can get all this information from us in this class. This is why I tell you most classes suck. Because if somebody's not teaching you principles, I'm teaching you excuses. I'm teaching you justification. So you do something, and then you just use this class to brand it. But you didn't really know why the fuck you was doing it. Right? You was kind of still doing the same thing you always been doing, but then you try to use the fancy words to make it sound sexy. But when you have mental models and principles, you're able to even question your own intelligence. You're able to go way deep. Once you become aware that mental models is a thing, and as you start to learn these mental models through this class, it's going to change the way you think completely. Somebody can say, that's a great idea. You're like, oh, that's a great idea. But what if it isn't? See, now I'm able to flip it. You see what I'm doing? You see how I'm able to do it? And what about this variable, that variable, this variable, that variable? But without mental models, you're taking the emotional contagion. Whatever the motion of the room is, you're moving in that direction. And then you start to build your personality behind the belief, not even having any substance behind the belief.
So in life and business, the person with the fewest blind spots win. So I say that a different way, and I would say the person with the most mental models win. Because does mental
But
models
here's the funny thing. Entrepreneur, okay, teachers teach and entrepreneurs do.
Right.
So a lot of entrepreneurs, what you will never know is most entrepreneurs have hella principles, but they're not used to talking about it because that's not what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They learn these models. If you work with them, you'll see it. You see the rules and models. And you see all this shit operating optionality, right? But if you if you ask a lot of entrepreneurs to give a lecture, you'd be like, I don't know what the fuck this cat just said.
For instance, I came up in retail, traditionally called a merchant or a buyer. But as a merchant, you learn retail principles, not because you learned all the words, but AUR, AVC, all of the acronyms, all of the things, you learn that on the job. When I got to 510 Media, I learned heavy brand from a behavioral perspective, very different from the way that I got introduced to it. So some of the same words, very different meaning when you shift the context to behavior and not just from your particular industry. So now when I look at those things, I have a very different perspective than most people who came up with me. You know, like, where do you have that from? Like, because now I have this whole behavioral framework that I think about stuff very, very differently. So that's an example, or I'm putting that out to you to say that in my mind, that's where I'm going to as an example of how this works.
Yeah, matter of fact, if you ever talk to you about retail, you have a lot of retail mental models. If you ever get a chance to talk to Shabisha, she will talk to you about a lot of invisible processes you would never see if you walk into the store. Never would translate. Wouldn't make any sense, right? It would only make sense if you get on the side where you actually have to move product and things start to become revealed, and she starts to have layers to things just the average person wouldn't see. So if you get into her industry and you learned, the definition of terms and when they may be used, and you got next to Shabisha, she'll run past you miles in front of you. By the time you get the first mental model, she's already to 25th. She's already 400 steps in front of you, right? And a lot of times, because of luck, risk, and social justice, which is thinking somebody is causing something to you, you're outsourcing your life to other people. So instead of you saying, so something happens to you, instead of you saying, what could I do different? Because you don't have radical responsibility. You outsource the mistake to, this didn't happen because my supervisor, this company, Oakland, the streets, the city, the air, fucking everything, right? And so you don't even get a chance to adjust your mental models fast enough because you're too busy externally blaming everything outside of yourself. Like, when I found his books, a lot of these mental models I learned on the journey. And I said to myself, oh my God, this is like gold. This is like, when I gave it to Court, say things, Court's like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. Because these are things that we got our ass whooped so bad in the game. Court tells a story how he got his ass whooped. I tell a story how I got my ass whooped. We got our ass whooped so bad, we were forced to learn mental models. If you don't get your ass whooped, for most people, they don't never change their mental models because it's working. As far as they're concerned, I ate last night. I went to the restroom last night. I slept last night. Well, do it again. I ate last night. Went to the restroom last night. I slept. Let's do it again. My mental model's cool. I don't know what Donna's talking about. But when you start building shit for other people, somebody this couple called me from Google the other day, and they were talking to me about this business idea they wanted to do. And they went and started an LLC, and they wanted me to help them with their brand and discuss their website. And it was talking about all this different kind of stuff. And I says, can I ask you a question? Which one of you guys ever did this entrepreneur stuff? Well, one guy went to Harvard Business School, entrepreneur school. And his wife was an executive in nonprofit. So they make good money. I said, they said, yeah, we want to do this. I said, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Since you guys have some background, I'm just be honest with you, because fuck it, I don't need to be here. I don't need to be here, right? Just hang up on me. I said, first thing, have you sold anything? No. Then why are you an LLC? What the fuck you ain't sold nothing. Have you did your numbers and see what the profit margin is? No. What the fuck you doing? What's our brand? You don't have a brand. You ain't sold nothing. Who the fuck? I can't even tell you what to design it for. Who the fuck you talking about? And you and your wife are not qualified to talk about the public because you guys have a bias because you love what the fuck you do. So everything in this meeting is a waste of your time and my time because you ain't deal. I said, here's the strategy. Only strategy you should worry about. I said, this is how you start your business tomorrow. Fuck your website. Go find 5 people who want to do it. Take them out there and go get some data for me. Find out what they do and don't like. Because I said, here's the number one part of marketing. Number one part of marketing. Those online. Number one part of marketing. Remove the fucking friction points first. If you want a strong business, remove the friction points. And from you telling me about your business, it's too many friction points. This is not a good business. It sucks. The idea is great. But there's so much friction from me to your idea, it sucks. Your challenge is to get groups of people and test new ideas on. That means your business is 1 or 2 years away of testing. Stop spending money like you know what we do? We treat running a business like getting ready for a gym. We go buy the coolest sweatsuit ever. Nicest shoes fucking ever. Get on a treadmill, can't get past level 1. Over there breathing, you should have brought the best asthma spray ever. Because that's the only fuck you think you're going to be using that strong. But what do? But see, mental models tells me that whatever I believe in is not necessarily what everybody else believes in. And just because you see a great opportunity doesn't mean that people even give a fuck about the opportunity. There's so many layers of why your business will and will not work. I tell you all the time, don't call me until you did your numbers. Another dude called me this week and said, no, I think about this good idea. I did the idea. I said, did you do the numbers of this idea? Because I don't see how you can scale it. With 1,000 customers, you'll make 200,000 a year max. I don't understand how you can scale it. I said, so check this out, young man. Before you ever call me again, I'm teaching this because I'm not mad at you. Do your numbers first. Look at how much you're going to profit, how scalable it is. If you don't see those 2 areas working, then you don't call another business person because your ideas are trash. It's trash. And the reason you got to say it to yourself, it's not because I'm trying to be mean. I need you to say it to yourself. My idea is trash until I can put some numbers on it. If I can't see the numbers come out of it, I don't give a fuck how sweet the word. Business is not poetry. I don't give a fuck about your emotional feelings and how your soliloquies and how beautiful your words sound. If you can't go sell that motherfucking idea, you have nothing. Nothing. What if I sell it, somebody try to steal it? Well, if they try to steal it and they can steal it from you, maybe you suck. Because you take off second don't make you last. You can take off fifth and be first. When did McDonald's start? Were they the first one to make a hamburger? Hell no. You get where I'm going with this? Like, once you understand mental models, you move differently. You see the world, you feel. So now when a business thing, when it's come time for me to design a new model on my company, my principles converge on this idea and surround it. And start to look at all these different angles, and it starts to tear holes in it and look for places I can for opportunities and all this kind of stuff. By the time it comes through all those mental models, it's like, oh, this is hella tight. I'm impressed. But if I protected it within my safe little space of what I think and what I feel, it's trash. My ideas tell me that the number one goal of a business is not make the best hamburger, but make a great process that makes the most average, make a great process to make a decent burger that even an average person can make. Because when you make the best burger, you're just one person from destroying your business. And business is about survival, not success. Right? Like if somebody says, hey, you want stock from that fancy burger spot in Walden Creek that makes the finest, like it's just, just grass-fed, organic, quinoa, whatever fucking burger that people waiting in line around the corner. Or do you want stock at McDonald's? I know which one I take. I understand positioning. I take that $1 over here compared to your $20 over here. Why? Because this business just needs one COVID, one black swan, you're dead to water. McDonald's designed they position themselves in optionality. They said, I'm going to design a process where anybody can come in here and make a decent burger. That shit motherfucking fire. I'm going to do 2 more slides and go. Is that okay if I do 2 slides? It's okay? Anybody oppose me doing 2 more slides and go home? All right, finish this slide real quick.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Did we finish the slide?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, next slide.
A mental model is simply a representation of how something works.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot keep all of the details of the world in our brains.
So you can't, I learned this, so you know what I learned mental model, my first exposure to mental models was being a Christian at the age of 8. Ain't that crazy? No, maybe 12. Maybe 12.
Can I get a
And listen.
So I was a Christian, and I remember reading the Bible going, this is too much stuff. This is just ridiculously too much stuff. And I'm watching this pastor speaking, I'm like, I'm 12. How am I supposed to get moved to this adulthood with all this stuff? And you know what I said at that age? Because I was a lover of Proverbs. That was my favorite book to read. I would read Proverbs over, maybe read Matthew. I read what you asked me to read, but I'm going back to Proverbs. And Psalms, I didn't understand Psalms at all. I was like, Psalms just feels like poetry. I don't like poetry, right? Anybody knows me, I can't stand poetry. If anybody's a poet in this class, please don't invite me. Just be like, he sucks, all right? I suck, because I don't like poetry, because I'm a yawn, because I just hate poetry anyway. So, just me. Poetry's beautiful. I hate it. So, at that age, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna learn all this knowledge has to boil down to core ideas. What are the core ideas? That was the beginning of me developing and understanding mental models at that young age. Didn't know I was doing it. As I grew older, I was like, oh, that was hella tight. My brain worked like that, and I had that type of exposure. And it might have been, and I may give credit to Proverbs because Proverbs was influencing me. When you read a lot of times, you know when somebody says, you hear a lot of people say, hey, as an entrepreneur, they went with their gut feeling? It makes it sound like it's spooky-ooky and just like, oh, I went with my gut feeling. And God was like, oh, let me tell you what to do. And you're like, oh, thank you for blessing me. This is why I made the decision. Don't do that. When you practice all the time, when experts pull from their gut, there's hidden wisdom in their gut. Straight up. It's hidden wisdom. As I say, fireman said go from his gut. It's wisdom and knowledge in his gut. If you're reading this Proverbs all the time and you're studying these books and you're learning all the time, like what Cora was talking about earlier, your feelings become educated. Your emotions become educated. And when you just feel something, it ain't just this, you may not make that connection. And so Proverbs may inspire this idea of boiling it down to simple principles. And that is what a mental model is. And so when I got into business and I'm laying on the couch and my stomach's turning over and I feel like, oh God, I want to throw up. And I finally said to myself, it's something you're doing, bro. It's something you do. It's not the outside world. It's something you're doing. And then that day I said, I'm willing to go let go any fucking thing that doesn't work. I have no loyalty. I mean, none. I'm talking about zero loyalty to anything that doesn't work for me. I would dump it so fast because I do stand for something. I stand for a world that's better for my people. I stand for helping people out as a whole, period. But my first priority is take care of my culture first and then take care of everybody else. In that concept, if what I'm doing is stopping me from taking care of my people, that means first me, then my family, then my community. There's an order to that, right? Then if that model is working against that, I'm going to dump it. I'm going to dump it. And mind you, I said me first. Before I put the mask on your face, my child's face, I got to put it on my own face first. Finish this point?
So we use mental models to simplify the complex into understandable and organizable chunks.
Chunks is important. A lot of times you think when you meet somebody speak to you, they will use these big words and share these ideas, and then you'll feel lesser than because you realize, oh God, he built this, they know this, they did this. you don't realize they got there through chunks. And you can get there too. But if you look at somebody's greatness, you get caught in awe. And awe is self-defeating. Oh my God, I could never be like that. Limiting belief. So chunking, which is a simple word in there, learning that if you want to do anything you want to do in life, if you break it down to simple chunks, it'll blow your own fucking mind. Keep going.
Whether we realize it or not, we then use these models every day to think, decide, and understand our world.
So I can promise you, none of us understand the world. Mental models is your lenses of how you're going to understand the world around you. None of us. Every day I'm learning something new about the world. I'm going, oh, damn, I didn't know. Oh, damn, I didn't know. Mental models is a way to help you hack that process. So even if you didn't know, you was in the right place. So for example, I'm reading a book about the Night Riders, OPD, and how the OPD came into existence, but it wasn't about just the Night Riders. It was the whole system that created the Night Riders, right? So it goes all the way back to 1800s, right? So we did our research with OPD about 3 or 4 years ago. Now, I didn't know this new information that's blowing my mind. Like, whoa, that's just crazy. But our analysis was accurate because of our mental models. You see that? I mean, you're not going to know everything about where everything comes from. But when you have these principles and mental models, it can help you bypass having to know all context of all things. You'll still be on the writer's side of a decision as opposed to feeling like, damn, well, I don't even know where this came from. So, like a new customer come in, a new opportunity come in, a new business is presented to you. When you have your business model, you're not going to know the context. But if you have your models, you can hear the flaws in just the presentation alone. Be like, oh, just based on what they just said, I got to verify these things now because you showed me some holes and that shit doesn't line up based upon these models and principles that are invisible to the person selling it to you because most people who don't build anything don't know this is a thing. We use this as our flashlight moving through the world. This is how I move through the world. I'm using my mental models to examine everything because humans lie consciously and unconsciously. Most people who lie to you don't even know they're lying to you because they lie to themselves. If you gain some knowledge from a job and they give you a title for 10 years, you really believe you're that person. You're lying to yourself. You ain't that good. You haven't been in all forms of competition, but you may have been the greatest in that company, in that space. You didn't see all the things that subsidize your title. So you think you tight as hell. Then you come out in the real world, and you suck. Because why? You're in a hallucination. Human beings hallucinate all the time. We're hallucinating animals. We hallucinate, like everybody's taking speed. We hallucinate our ass off or whatever the angel does. What the fuck they take or whatever they use to hallucinate. Everybody's hallucinating. You guys can tell I don't do drugs. I'm just making up shit. At least I didn't say fentanyl. That shit just put you to sleep. You really hallucinate. But point is this. But is that a Jewish drug or something? Okay, anyway. So point is this. And so the reality is this: is that so people come in your office and they're selling to you. Some of them are not there. They want the relationship with you to get somewhere, but they're gonna lie to you, tell you that they're there. And you can't protect yourself because you're just using, well, that feels good. I don't think you would lie. Let me see your resume. Oh, you went to Harvard? Okay, I believe you. Oh, you worked at Facebook? Okay, I trust that. And you're about to lose everything. But when you have these mental models, it's almost like they're saying, it's almost like they're using English, but you're some AI that's reading between the language. And you're hearing things they can't even hear. And all of a sudden you're decoding. And people are like, no, how'd you know? It's a group of operating mental models that I'm always living by that's shaping the way I process even a laughter, playing dominoes, having a good conversation. By the way, the reason I win in dominoes all the time is not because of combinational moves. It's all positioning. That's what. Because every time my friends come over, I'm always winning in dominoes.
But I get my wins though.
I get my wins. Okay, when you do a 2 out of 6 or 1 out of 5. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, right?
King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Put that plate up again.
King Kong ain't got shit on me.
That's right. So the reality is that, but that's all about positioning, by the way. Last one. Last slide.
Put to proper use. They will improve your understanding of the world we live in and improve your ability to look at a situation through different lenses, each of which reveals a different layer.
That's the key word. It will reveal layers you cannot see. Once again, without these mental models, there's hell of layers around you every day you can't see. What you see and what there is ain't even close. And when you start your business, you're using your elementary version of sight to step in a complex world, and you wonder why you can't see shit. And this is why people who perform at high levels seem like aliens to you, because you can't see what they see. Go.
They can be used in a wide variety of situations and are essential to making rational decisions, even when there is no clear path. Collectively, they will allow you to walk around any problem in a three-dimensional way.
That's a 360 of what Court taught tonight. Being able to walk around problems on a three-dimensional way. Do you understand that when most people come talk to me about business, they're not talking, Court has never talked to me about business, about selling clothes. I ain't sold shit. I ain't never sold a t-shirt. I like them too much. I got some old ones if you want to buy them, but I'm going to laugh if you buy them, right? Because I wear my t-shirts that got whole, like malls be like, I don't even want to buy your shit so old, right? I have some old t-shirts. But let me say this. When Court talks to me about business, I can't help him with a lot of his day-to-day tactics. All I'm using is mental models. I can look at things from multiple dimensions. That's all he's talking to me about. You may say, well, no, you're a dimension master. No, I'm not biased. When he's running a business sometime, this is important. Hear what I'm about to say. He knows mental models too. But your emotions sometimes make you fall back to your model of safety. Hear what I just said? You have a model of safety and it creates a bias. And when that bias kicks in, it's almost invisible to you. So what happens is Court will have a problem and he realizes he can't turn. He's trying to turn it, but he can't. Because every time he turns it, kind of flips and it still looks the same to him. So when he reaches out to me, it's not because he doesn't know what I know. It's not like he's incapable. This is important for you to understand this as all entrepreneurs. His bias is blinding his ability to look three-dimensional. So he reaches out to somebody who says to him, this is what happens almost 90% of the time. I say, well, Court, hey, flip it this way. He's like, oh yeah, I know that, bye. It happens almost like that. Am I lying? Almost every time we talk, it's like, oh yeah, bye. It wasn't because he didn't know the knowledge. When you have mental models, don't think you could just pull them up like a file cabinet that's well numbered, or you just punch it in a search and it automatically just pops up. Based upon how close you are to the problem, influences, your background, your past, how you think about yourself, when the problem's right in front of you, this is when you need your peers. Is to help you spin that problem around in different angles and say, hey, peer, what do you think? And what he's calling me for is not a, hey, once you apply the mental models, it's gonna come up to you because you have nothing to lose. So you have access to all your mental models. Right now, I'm overwhelmed by whatever. It could even be exhaustion. I've been up all night working on a project all night. That happened one time. He called me. I ain't gonna tell you what the deal was. He called me. I was in LA. He said, I need to talk to you real quick. I said, oh shit. Now we driving, usually on vacation. I reserve it to like a very small group of entrepreneurs can call me. He's one of them. Can call me when I'm on vacation. So he called me. We're in this little Tesla. I'm enjoying it. I'm pushing all kind of buttons. And he says, no, I got a problem. And he's telling me the problem. I say, dude, did you eat? Did you get some sleep? He said, what? I said, did you eat or sleep? I said, what are you talking about? I said, dude, the answer is this. He goes, shit, man, I was up all night. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I need to take care of myself. He had the answer. He has the models. This mental model shit is tricky as fuck. And this is where your peers come in for you. That when you try to hero everything, you're going to make a person in business by themselves is making more mistakes than they can even count. They're probably 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. They make 90% mistakes, 10% success, not the other way around. And the reason for that is because when you're in isolation, your mental models are becoming unavailable to you. And so where you need your peers from, and this is where that feedback shit, Kaja, because I saw the class he talked to you about, this is where that feedback shit comes into mind. You're comfortable right now. These rules, these are the rules. You're so comfortable right now. Look, your nails look great. I steal those glasses when this class is over and nobody can accuse me. But anyway, you look great. And you're sitting there comfortable as shit. So you're at home talking about, it just irritates when these motherfuckers be asking me all these goddamn questions. I don't like all this feedback. Because you're comfortable, right? But when you're out there surviving, you're vulnerable. Feedback is going to be the only thing that's going to save you from yourself. Because you can't see it. You can't. You're not going to be emotionally happy, strong, super. You know the biggest myth I can't stand in the hood? I'm a bad motherfucker. You just one bullet away from not being the baddest motherfucker no more. There's no such thing as a bad motherfucker. There's no such thing as a bad motherfucker. Physically, mentally, there's no such thing. If a truck hit Mike Tyson, he's not bad no more. I don't give a fuck who you are. If a kid happens to just be shooting a gun for play and shoot it through his window, hit you in the head, you're not bad no more. You're not strong all the time. So when we give you these rules are not for the up you. These principles are not for the up you. And the more you are resisting, like, yeah, well, I've been doing good, because you up. I mean, if you eat tomorrow, you got food in the refrigerator to eat tomorrow, and the shit ain't going to go expire, you up. If your rent's paid and nobody's about to kick your shit out, about to knock on your door, you up. If you can sleep somewhere where you can get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep, you up. And God forbid if you're having sex, you up there. Right? So then when you're in this class and we teach you these ideas, you all, oh man, what the fuck? Man, you don't know me. My ego telling me I don't need to hear all this shit. I can do this. I'm a player. I can make it out here. I'm a boss. You broke. You about to be broke as fuck. Because here's the thing. You're going to be down. And nobody can stop that. And if you don't have these rules and these models and these principles and this foundation and you don't understand optionality and you're not positioning yourself correctly, you're going to find out that day you ain't shit. Fatality. He said, you ain't shit. And that's the thing. Entrepreneurs, hear me when I say this. This is so important before we go home. This is so important. Stop thinking tomorrow's going to be a copy of yesterday. It just takes one bad thing you could have never participated. Man, somebody get in a car accident on the way home tonight, and life is disruptive. Do you have the mental models to keep you moving forward? And in business, if you think the more you interact, look, as you grow a business, there's more touch points of vulnerability, right? More employees, more products, more brand, more. All that's just possible. You think you're going to navigate that on strength? Ain't no such thing. So these mental models you're about to learn, rules, positioning, optionality, these are domesticating a future you will never control. And do not fall into illusion because things are good. It's going to stay good because it doesn't. It just doesn't. Make it really simple. Everybody's hearing my voice. You won't be here 100 years from now. Did you calculate that into your strategy? Probably didn't. Because you think you're going to live forever because you watch TV. Just because they still play Leave It to Beaver don't mean the motherfucker's alive. I didn't want to say that for days. That's funny as fuck to me. That's just funny for some reason. Anyway, so with that being said, look, y'all have a good night, but I just want to say real quick, learn to live your life, run your business based upon principles of uncertainty. Stop moving like tomorrow's promised to you. Your pastor told you 1,000 times, tomorrow's not promised to you. Stop acting like it is. And it's okay if you live your own personal life like within that illusion. But when you come out in this business world, it is not kind to you who run around here thinking that you're going to survive. Because at some point, something's going to happen. It's going to cost a lot of money. And if you keep buying those little red bottom shoes and you keep buying those rims for your car, you keep buying the latest glasses and because this newer generation, by the way, they really on some other shit. They rather buy what's that Birkin something bag for $30,000 as opposed to buy a house. They rather stay with their parents and get the bag, right? Just know when shit shifts, whether it's your personal black swan, something happens to you, happens around you, unpredictable shit, you want to be in a position to weather that fucking storm. So position yourself. Have a good night.